Welcome viewers to race 4 and 5 of the Australian 16-foot skiff and 13-foot skiff nationals, hosted by Manly 16-foot skiff club. Coming to you today on a beautiful sunny day out here on Sydney Harbour. Breeze is slightly up, we've got about 12 to 14 knots, so plenty of action ahead. And to help talk about today's action, I've got my old mate Paulie Mac back in the jump seat, and joining us today, a very special guest, Alana Clancy. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Jimmy. It's a great day to be out on the harbour.
Yep, and Paulie, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. I thought I got the sack. The boys did a good job yesterday. So
yeah, they did.
I thought you might have eased me. I'm used to getting eased.
Well, me and Chits did talk about it, so we did have a quick chat, but we decided we'll have you back. But
thanks for having me. It's great to be out here with you guys.
Yep.
We've got another lovely day in front of us out here. Setting up for 2 races again today, I think, aren't we, Jimmy?
Yeah, race 4 and race 5. We're deep down in Manly Cove because there's a shipping movement due out, and the PRO, Hugh Lester, has taken Bella on to it and doesn't want to be told off by Maritime again, so we're deep in Manly Cove. So, that should potentially play into the Manly guys and girls' hands down here.
Yeah, I think so, Jimmy. I think, when we're out in the open water out there, it's a sort of, Manly guys don't spend as much time out there as everybody thinks. But down this lower end of the course, we're all pretty good at figuring out our little strategies to get out of here. So it should be interesting. And just with a little bit less water, compress the fleet a little bit, which should get us a bit more boat-on-boat action and a little bit of some interesting racing.
Yep, and Alana, you were meant to be sailing these titles, but you're broken.
Yeah, a bit broken, unfortunately. I did my back in the last dive at St George State, and then tried to play 3 days of State Cup touch football and really sealed the deal of not being able to sail, unfortunately.
So how's the boat going without you on it, Alana?
Well, probably a bit better. No, the guys are having a good regatta so far. Unfortunately, Georgia didn't do as well as she would have liked yesterday in the light breeze, but they had some really good. They were up the pointy end on Saturday and Sunday, which, I think if you sail out of Manly with those big breezes and big swell, that's kind of what we love. And I definitely was missing sailing on the weekend.
And when are you hoping to be back in the boat?
I don't know. It's just a bit of a waiting game at the moment. Hoping early Feb, but we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, and you were down the club early today with the young ladies.
Yeah, we had a really good morning with the girls, the young girls. There was a few girls from the Pittwater clubs, and then now our juniors from the Flying 11s and the MJs. With the 4 Manly skiff girls that are sailing the 16s at the moment, Sarah Lee, Jess Isles, Georgia and myself, and then we had Zoe, who's also sailing this regatta as well, Zoe Dransfield, Lucy Copeland and Lisa Darmanin. So they had a bit of a Q&A this morning. The girls got to ask lots of questions, and it was really nice to see how many young girls are coming through. I feel like when we were going through the juniors, there was a few of us, but there's not many that have sort of transitioned into their senior classes in the 13s and the 16s. So hopefully with some, good guidance and, the club's doing a really good thing at the moment, some encouragement can get some of those girls coming through. And we can see that in the 13s at the moment.
Well, you're one of very few that have come all the way through from juniors, the intermediate class, and then now the 16s.
Yeah,
I understand why you got out of the Flying 11s because of the bloke beside you, but that's a different story.
I was lucky enough to start sailing with Paulie in the Flying 11, so we've done a few regattas together.
Yeah. Dad's reminded me that I've lost her quite a few regattas.
I think probably our favourite regatta, or one of my favourites, sailing with Paul here at Manly in the Flying 11s.
Yeah.
We had a really windy week. We had some up and down results, but that's just sailing in general, I think. Been lucky.
Had a run in with a cruise ship.
Yeah, it's the only one I can remember at Manly is that is that week that we start the flying 11s.
But it's also today on the deck, isn't it, Jimmy? Ladies' Day?
Ladies' Day, you probably know more about it. There's the deck there at the club. All the ladies are in there drinking plenty of, I believe, Piper champagne, and
I've got Piper and some Grey Goose on deck today, Jimmy.
look out.
You're
Missed
missing
a
out,
good
mate.
day.
So even more of a reason to say thank you for being out here with us.
I was thinking about putting on a skirt and getting out there.
Wouldn't be your first time.
So before this race today as well, man, Alana just went round and actually tried to speak to a few of the girls in the filly who are doing a great job, and just sort of get a bit of feedback on how they're going so far.
What did you find out?
So we had a good chat with Zoe.
Yep.
She had a
Zoe Dransfield sailing Southerly.
She had a cracking day yesterday.
Yep. Leading the Dransfield Cup as well.
I think that's a big one for her. We sort of asked, do you want to be first girl? I think a family rivalry is the big one.
Yep.
Make sure she puts her brothers in her place. But she was really excited with yesterday, 5th and a 3rd, wasn't it?
Eighth and a third.
8th and a 3rd.
8th.
And which is, in this fleet, I think anything in that top 10 is a real keeper for most people. And she said she just wants to try and stay up at the pointy end for the rest of the regatta and really try and build on her knowledge on this boat. So I'm expecting to see a little bit more improvement. She's got one.
Crew change on there today, though.
Yeah, they got pole head, Steve Cotton back in the bow. Apparently he was a little bit beaten up after the first race. Had to have a
So he
day
should have
off
been.
yesterday.
Needed a day's rest.
And then we also managed to go over and have a quick chat with Jessica Isles about how they had or as she put it, one keeper yesterday and then one which is a bit of a fringe result. Jess is which sails with her brother, which is always an interesting thing, having family on board, isn't it, Alana?
Oh, it depends. I reckon for you to be a different story, Paulie. Most siblings get along all right, except for you.
But she's, they're really trying. They're aiming for a top 15, so getting the results they got yesterday is a good start for them in this regatta to really work towards that result. And then we actually tried to go and speak to Bethany today as well from the Kunami. However, she's having a day off. I believe she's either working or there is a bit of a hint that she might be at Elton John. But they've got
Rod
Carter on board today. So, you know, he's someone that's been at the very pointy end of this fleet. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how that boat goes today.
It'll be good for Bethany's crew just to get some feedback from someone like Rod as well. You know, like it's not... these boats, as we've alluded to, aren't the easiest boats to sail, and trying to get three people to be coordinated together is quite hard.
It's always a challenge.
So Rod sailed the Beaches boat from up in Belmont for quite a while with Milko, but I don't think they're sailing together this year. They've sort of separated.
Split teams and divide and conquer.
Rod's always been at the pointy end of the fleet, known to jag a couple of race wins and national titles and things like that. Yeah, and he actually is the man that, he's a school teacher, I believe, but he runs the CHS regatta up at Belmont with 200 boats from teenagers up there. I think that would be a very interesting situation to say.
I remember those days.
Cave Beach, it was a great place, wasn't it, Jimmy?
Yep.
I was up there recently, actually. That whole complex has changed a little bit upper class. I don't think they let the kids through there too much anymore.
No. And
So we've had a couple of changing crews, changing skippers out here. We've already told you of one of them. The other one, which is quite a big one, is the SK Electrical on screen at the moment. Scott Babbage has had to jump off, and they've got Harry Price on the stick. So Harry's been doing very well in the 18s recently, does a lot of sailing himself. I've actually sailed quite a few races when Ruffy hurt his back a few years ago with Harry. He's a very, very good skiff sailor, and he actually knows his boats quite well, and he knows his patch of water very well. So it'll be interesting to see how they go today.
Yep, and then I guess moving on, we might as well have a look at the results so far. Chits, if we can grab them. There they are. It's 16-foot skiffs after 3 races. So race 1 was obviously abandoned to be resailed. We'll fill you in a bit more on that. But leading the charge at the moment is the Typhoon, skippered by Nathan Wilmot. Second is Sail Racing, Felix Gretsch, 1 point behind on 4. Third is Moon and Yachts, Daniel Turner, 7 points. Then in fourth is Eric's Storage from Middle Harbour, Harry Lawson.
Great day from them yesterday.
Mate, they sailed out of their skin yesterday. Looked amazing.
Sailed back through the fleet too a couple of times, didn't they?
Yeah, and fifth, is Amy. Then on handicap we have MH44 Eva Atwood. They forgot to sign on yesterday and they ended up with a 10% penalty in both races, but they're still managing to lead on 12 points. Second on handicap is Typhoon. That's the one they're going for, Nathan Wilmot.
Great handicap, mate.
14 points. Then third, Sail Racing, Felix Scratch. Fourth, Eric's Storage, Harry Lawson on 17 points. And then Zoe Dransfield on Southerly rounds out the top 5 on 20. Then in the 13-foot skiffs, we can have a look at them. 13-foot skiffs, we have first is Ebix, Gemma Hopkins on 4 points, just ahead of Botany Scaffold, Sophie Hart. They're both tied on 4 points. Then third, Bartley Constructions, Taylor Spriggett. Fourth, Plonk Cafe, Avril Richardson. And fifth, Fluid, Donnie Rollinson. Then on handicap, pretty much so the same, except for fifth is Duchess, Amy Bentley. So a very strong showing from the ladies in the 13-foot skiff division.
Impressive.
Good to see some young girls coming through, Jimmy.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're all sailing exceptionally well. The young girls are they're leading the charge in the 13s. There's no doubt about it. They're all very young into this class. They've still got quite a few years probably ahead of them until they transfer into the 16s, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully they can hang in it for a few more years. I think a lot of them are all pretty young in the mid-teenage, mid-high school kind of area, so it's probably a little bit earlier than some of us went into the 13, but yeah, it's good to see such a strong fleet at the moment. I think 15 would be probably maybe a record number for nationals or up there. From what we've seen in the last few years, it's certainly building again, which is good. Yeah, and there's that Hornsby Ku-ring-gai Sailing Club, they've picked them up, which is good, and the orange flag's up, so we're not long away from race 4, which is in honour of the Mighty Otis, which was Greg Hyde, Mark Patterson, Peter Hubble and Rod Howell. Sailed that boat, seen Heidi in the club before, so g'day mate if you're watching. And yeah, we'll see if this brings back any memories for you, buddy. So, not long till signals.
So go Jimmy, sorry.
Pick of the day.
Pick of the day.
Alana, do you want the list back?
We'll let you go first, Alana.
Alana, come on.
Oh, my pick of the day, I think today the Typhoon will have to be up there. And a bit of a battle of the Barnabas, I reckon, on the Amy. And probably third, surely Ruffy on the what's he sailing now?
Moonin.
The Moonin.
Going with your cousin, are you, Alana?
Go on the Moonin.
If you had to pick a Ruffy for today?
A Ruffy for today, I'm going to go for the girls on Ladies' Day, Jimmy, and I have to say, Ree's filling in. Georgia might be up there today. Or Zoe's pretty exceptional results yesterday. Either of them could sort of bag a good result today, I think.
So for my picks today, I think Alana alluded to quite well. The Typhoons got their act together, hit form again yesterday. Boat stayed together. They're going to be a tough boat to beat. The Sail Racing's looking amazing. I had a good chat to the boys in the bar yesterday. They're very relaxed operators. They're great in a big fleet. Great in a big fleet situation. I think we're going to see them do really well again. Then I think we're going to see a return to form from some of these Belmont boats. So I know after that first day, they might have been a little bit down about the result which happened. However, we sort of saw the Manly boats step back up yesterday, but a bit more pressure today, and they seem to be working a bit better in that on that race one that got taken away. So I'm actually going to go with the NHS for third today. And then my big
Ruffy.
Yeah, what? Yeah, my Ruffy's the SKE Electrical. As I said, I've done a bit of sailing with Harry Price. I wouldn't be surprised to see him up the pointy end of the fleet.
Okay, well, my podium is I'll go with the SKE Electrical. Yep. I think he'll he's coming in fresh. You know, a lot of these boys and girls are quite beaten up at this point in time in the regatta. Harry stepping into a boat fresh is always a danger, so I think he'll appear somewhere on the podium. The one that I think was most disappointing yesterday was Noakes, Dave O'Connor.
Yep.
This is sort of Pete Mackey's get angry weather. Yeah. And I think
get some real aggression into that main sheet.
They'll be. You don't want to be that main sheet pulley, that's for sure today. And my third pick for the podium, you know, you really can't go past the Typhoon at this point in time, Nathan Wilmot. So I think that's where I sit. And my roughie will be that probably Light and Wonder.
Light and Wonder
from Belmont. I quite like the look of those guys.
I'm expecting a bit of a return to form from those Belmont boats that did that so well on that first day. Just this little bit of extra pressure, and they seem to have that bit of a high groove, which works getting out of this bay a little bit better as well.
Absolutely. And you know, the other one for the viewers at home, with a little bit more weight back in the boat today, Zoe Dransfield on Southerly.
Yeah.
You definitely can't rule her out, that's for sure. Like she's going to be the dark horse of this regatta, I think.
I think so. The course today, Jimmy, I believe I heard on the radio just then 3 laps.
Yep, 3 laps. That's what that flag over there means, Paulie. They see the 3 stripes, the blue, white and red. That's 3.
Yeah, I always came to you to ask it before every race anyway. But Downwind finish, and then we're rolling straight into another race afterwards today, aren't we, as well?
Correct.
2 races today.
Yep, and just to clear things up from yesterday while we're chatting about things is with the sign-on issue, it was found that the document is an open document. So it was found that Typhoon did sign on at 9:30. At 10:34, a different IP address had signed them off. So they were reinstated. But yeah, I think they've amended how it is all done now, and you're going to have to, once you sign on, it sends you an SMS confirmation. So,
nice.
So here we go to a start one now.
5 minutes to
5 minutes.
So we're starting to get into this preparation for this race now, Jimmy, where these guys are sort of trying to build their strategy up this work. We're sort of having a look down the line at the moment. Now, the classic manoeuvre here is sort of to get off the pin and head into that eastern shore out the front of the Skiff Club. Is that the direction you two think you'd be going today?
We'll go straight upwind, Paulie. We've got the best VMG uphill you'll ever see, mate.
I know we do.
So they're on a compass bearing of 155 for the viewers at home.
So should be sort of out in the middle of the set, like in between Flagstaff and the middle of the harbour sort of area.
Yeah, closer to Flagstaff than the invitation race, Paulie.
Yeah, so for the viewers at home, in terms of the sea state today compared to the last 2 days, seems a lot less sloppy, with a little bit less swell rolling through, especially down in this part of the harbour. So we should see the boats sort of change their modes a little bit more. I believe the majority of the fleet are on their second jibs today as well, because we're going to expect to see everybody getting 2 on wire and starting to stretch as hard as they can. However, it doesn't quite look like enough breeze to start causing people some issues. You know, it's almost a perfect skiff sailing race today.
Yeah, stay on the boat. I like the
Yeah, well, the lows are sort of 10 knots, gusting to sort of 14, so it is ideal for this rig.
Yeah. And I mean, if you are one of the bigger crews today as well, yeah, you might have a little bit of a bend. But then the other flip side is some of those lighter crews will be topped out in the 14-knot gusts and having to be dumped with a bit more sheet than they wanted.
You'd be bending on a daylight today, Paulie.
I don't bend, Alana. You know this. I don't bend.
Doesn't hike and doesn't bend.
I used to hike. Come on. I used to lean on a ladder.
He
It was
used to
great.
make me hike, hold his elbow out.
But no, in terms of this start, as we've got the chubs on screen actually at the moment, everybody's There we go. So we're looking down this start line. This start line, just based on where we're on the harbour, does look a little bit shorter to me today. So we are going to see a little bit more jostling for position, I believe, on this start. The pin, to me, you might run out a bit of runway, but it's going to be getting clear air straight away and a bail out into this corner over to our right.
It's Reef Beach.
Reef Beach is actually not a bad result.
Yeah.
Because you do get a lovely lane then across, and you can hit the flat water off Kilburn Towers over near Stall Bay first. And it's not so much a one-track course down the bottom of this here. You do have a few options on your plate.
Yeah, well, we've just positioned the camera boat a little bit advanced of the start line because of obviously boundaries being terra firma for us. We don't want to get stuck in behind them and miss the top mark action. So
I think you'll see a few of these boats hit this right-hand shore off Reef Beach today.
Yeah.
Particularly a lot of the local guys.
When it's flat in there, you got it.
Yeah.
You've got to get in there.
Some flat water and good breeze in there will give you a big advantage today.
It's also the other thing when you're thinking about your downwind runs today as well. You've really got to start planning at the top mark where you do throw that first jibe in so that you can really set yourself up for where you want to jibe down the bottom of this course. Because the one thing you don't want to be doing is jibing on the southern side of Reef Beach, which we all know is a bit of a washing machine and can turn into a bit of a landmine. And even if you don't have issues with swimming, it will be a slightly slower jibe due to the sea state in that corner.
Might have been for you back in the day, Paulie, but we're always lightning fast in there.
You're lightning fast everywhere, Jimmy. So we've got 47 seconds here. We've got all the boats racking up. I seem to like the pin, however the fleet seems to be going against me as usual.
They're probably right, Paul.
I would assume that they're right.
Brewing that Great Bear sponsors, right? Got a nice little spot there.
So there are quite a few boats loading up on this pin boat end. Capital Brewing looks to be the boat that's sort of looks to me that's going to win the pin here, win the boat. They've set themselves up really nicely.
It's a nice manoeuvre by Jess Isles in the capital there.
She's just letting the red pumps and the sail racing sneak in on top of her though. So, boats in the middle of the line looked a little bit too eager to start there. The Musto and the NHS doing the reverse midline sag, and I believe we've got a general recall.
The reverse midline sag.
Yeah. That's where you just get a little bit too gun happy.
The problem is, though, Paulie, you got to go when the boat's around. You got to go. Like it's it's just one of those things. It's you can't sit back because you just get swamped and you spit out the back door. Your day's over right then and there.
Shuey is a PRO. He's a very good PRO. But I know in previous experiences in skiff racing, sometimes they think it's a clear start. They may just let you go. You always had to be in that front row, didn't you, Jimmy?
Well and truly. Surround yourself with blokes that you know and trust and go for it. But speaking to Hugh Lester yesterday afternoon, guys, and he sort of indicated that his method of starting, and he's not mucking around.
Yeah, he gets it.
It was the AP down, so 6 minutes to our start. And then, so he's indicating he's willing to give them 2 shots at a P flag and then straight to the black flag. He's not mucking around, and I then asked him, so does that hang over for the second race, and you still hold anger at the kids? He goes, no. He goes, it's like a fresh day at school. He goes, we start again nicely and we go from there. So Hugh's actually been awesome for the Camera Cat this week, making sure that we're provided with all the information that we need from the camera boat, and which is awesome. It makes our life a lot easier to let you guys know exactly what is going on, the viewers at home.
It is another voice in our ear, though, that we've got
10 seconds to the warning here. Here we go, bang.
I like the way he goes about it. Get it started, get everyone back. We sometimes see people trying to do a bit of a test when there's been a general recall and check their speed and do everything. Huey's all about get everyone back on this line and get it started and let's get going.
Yeah, he doesn't muck around, does he?
Nah.
Might have something to do with certain refreshments back at the Skiff Club, maybe.
Well, I think it's got to do with Jack Andrew on the boat, actually, and he wants to start his lunch a bit earlier.
I'll leave that fight for you. Can you take your headset with you and just give us some commentary tonight?
Back in the bar.
I over-refreshed myself a little bit last night, Jimmy. I think I better be racing home this
Mate, you
afternoon.
made some amazing promises last night, which is good.
So we're just seeing all the boats here on screen, just filtering back towards the line. 4 minutes, that hooter is there. So we'll start.
P flag displayed, so as I said, we'll see what happens.
And so do you think on this starter ladder we're going to see a similar thing with everybody bunched up at this boat to mid-line?
I think given the short start line, it's, you know, that first general is probably going to put everyone on a bit of warning, but yeah, jumping the gun is probably always going to be the way with the length of the line there. So hopefully we can see one.
A very short runway too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
hopefully Georgia can get in front of the fourth row today.
Same with the fire stopping.
And get out and run to sort of start fresh.
Well, in these shorter races, the start even gets more important, doesn't it? Especially in a fleet this size. Because if you do get buried, you know, you're not going to start getting that clear air until really the second lap if you have a bad start. And that's when you can start to use your speed to get yourself back into the race.
Yeah, very hard to catch up when you're already behind off the start in these short, particularly in this inner sort of harbour that we're in. There's not much runway.
There's the Moonin, your cousin, jibing around us.
Yes. Hopefully
Daniel
he has a
Turner.
better day today.
Oh, he did pretty well yesterday. I think he was pretty happy.
He was happy with the consistency, I believe, but I'm sure he'd prefer to be further up the podium. But big shout out to all the fam at home that are watching on YouTube, particularly the ones that are in Aspen. Slightly jealous, Devo.
But I've sort of had a chat to a few of these guys at the pointy end of the fleet over the last few days, and they're really feeling there's quite a few boats up there. And, you know, in terms of a series score to win this thing, it's going to be about getting consistent top fives. You know, we're not seeing a shootout between three boats to see who can get the most firsts, which we have seen previously. It's going to be more about who can be consistent across 9 races and then really have an opportunity to put this away in the last race. I mean, Typhoon showed a pretty clean set of heels yesterday. It was very impressive. However, there are other boats in this fleet that I thought should have been a bit further up there, as Jimmy alluded to. The Noakes behind me could have been a bit further up there as well. We're expecting a bit more from them. And then those 2 boats that did so well on that first day, the Dominoes and the Light and Wonder, you bring them back into the mix as well. And we've really got 6 or 7 boats that can sort of challenge for this thing.
I think with the varying conditions throughout the week too, it really could be anyone's trophy come Saturday.
Yeah.
And it will come down to that last race.
Yeah.
Like we saw in Middle Harbour a few years ago, I expect something pretty similar.
Hopefully
That one you remember, Paulie, quite well, I reckon.
I remember that one quite well. Thanks, Alana.
1 minute to the start here, guys.
So we're seeing them again, similar sort of setup here from the boats. People fighting for the boat end of the line, with a few people looking pretty keen in the centre of the line. Jimmy's position is perfectly at this end to get a good view all the way down the line. It's lovely. Sail racing again right on the start boat. And they've got the Moonin below them this time, so they might have a bit more difficulty there. I'm sure Gus has got some choice words for the boys on that boat at the moment.
Gus Williams will be very vocal at the moment.
He's not shy, that kid. So the boats at this right up on the boat actually do look extremely stalled out.
Sail racing hasn't had the greatest start there.
Sail racing got shot out. Eric's lovely start just below the Moonin.
Clear start in the 16-foot skiffs for race 4 of the Australian 16-foot skiff titles.
So we've almost looking across this fleet, it looks like the Moon and Ericsson Red Pumps had a great start off the boat, and down the other end the Dominoes and
NHS, a great start.
and the and then the NHS in the centre has had probably one of the best starts out of the whole fleet, I reckon. However, they do have a few boats below them that may be able to give them click into a high mode. This pin is looking rather nice at the moment in terms of getting back across the fleet though, with the Bartley on the pin really rocketing out low at the end of that pin.
But the problem you've got, Paulie, it's not a long enough, first little beat that you can go before you run out of runway.
To get yourself the space to get the gap to do your tack, it's quite difficult. As we're about to see here with the Bartley, we thought they were looking like rock stars, but just that tuck, you lose a boat length and then they're already taking a couple of sterns.
You can see also there's a bit of a split fleet. A lot of people have hit Reef Beach, particularly many of the Manly guys, so they're going for that lift up, as we said, in the flat water.
Yeah, so we're following the fleet that's going in to have a look at Ladies' Day on the deck. The Dominoes boys are actually back on screen now, as Alana was alluding to. A lot of the boats that have clicked back into the right to go into Reef Beach. A lot of the leading Manly contenders, I believe, are over there, aren't they, Alana?
I saw the Mooner go over, the Sutek boys tacked over. I'm not sure where the others actually.
I'm pretty sure the Red Pumps Red was sitting just above the Moonin, so they probably went with them.
Yeah, Red Pumps Red is just right off Reef Beach, mate.
Yeah.
And King on the shebang. He's gone hard into that shore there.
It'll be interesting today to see how both Red Pumps boats go. They impressed so much on that first invitation race, and then yesterday was a day that I don't think they'll want to remember too much.
No, well, I was talking to Chris Williams in the bar last night, and he was buying himself an annual ticket to Luna Park for the House of Mirrors. So he was pretty dirty with their result yesterday, but he, as he said, it's just one of those days where went wrong, like just nothing went their way, and
it's one of those days that I think we've all had them on a skiff, especially as a sheet hand. You just can't find your groove upwind.
Mate, I remember that day, you and us on the fire stopping, you on the Sutek, we both had a shocker at Port Hunter, and we found that lump of wood and we kept throwing it in front of each other.
Yeah,
that's how much fun we were having. We were last and second last the whole day.
Yeah, and it really, then you start trying to change up your rig set, changing up your bang, you can't have everything going away from what you know. You start creating a few other things. So the Red Pumps here's crossed above everybody. However, there are a few boats still inside them up in that corner.
The Noakes and the Imy look like they've got great lines off Reef Beach. There, they've gone up the highest.
They're just coming onto screen now on the drone shot in front of us.
Closely followed by the Typhoon.
So a lot of these boats that we're seeing here coming back across are taking this traditional route that we sort of alluded to earlier. As Paul learned to sail boats, they're going to learn about the language of sailing.
They're taking this traditional route, which is go in, hit Reef Beach, get into nice flat water there, get a bit of bend around the point, and then you head over to Kilbom Towers or the toilet roll on the point over here. And then see if you can get a nice bend around this corner.
It's actually called Smedley's Point.
Smedley's Point.
Smedley's.
Not the toilet roll?
No, not the toilet roll. They've
locally known as the toilet roll.
Yes, because it's shaped like a stack of toilet rolls.
So there on screen now, we've got the Noakes above the NHS. They've got the Red Pumps Red coming back through, crossing in front of the NHS, and with the Noakes just tacking back underneath their bow. And with both boats clear ahead of the Imy. So I believe at the moment they're possibly the 3 leaders on the race course.
Yep.
And then behind them you can see in the background the Moonin, who we saw get a nice clean start. And then the sail racing got a bit caught up, a bit further deeper in the pack. So it'll be interesting to see how they can work their way back through this. A lot of people here taking a long starboard port board out towards their heads.
There's not many using this like quarantine area, which again you traditionally see people use, but that's more, well, probably on the right sort of track, but there's big holes can form in here and you look famous.
Yeah.
It's really nice flat water in here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, Jimmy, the reason that I always try to stay away from that shore over there, that sort of western shore of Dobroyd, is always kind of, I always feel you get a bit of backwash off the rocks. And then if you do jump out of your groove, you actually slow down for a bit longer time than if you're over in this flat water. If you do drop out or have something happen, you can build that speed up nice and quick. So it's a bit of a like consistency thing for me heading over this side. However, we sort of saw on the first day with the breeze from a similar direction that leading people out to that sort of southern end of the southern side of the course is actually where the gains have been made. So on screen there, we've got the Noakes and the Red Pumps red back in form today, which is good to see. Leading everybody out towards sort of middle harbour area of the course. They all seem to be bending down a little bit as they're heading across there at the moment. But we do have a few other boats just sort of still filtering back over to where we are on the camera cap on the eastern shore.
Yeah, so traditionally you want to hit Canai Point or Flagstaff, as the skiffies refer to it. Is generally a sort of a landmark that you aim for, isn't it? Like to bounce off.
Yeah, cut back across the course. You can see if many of those boats are coming back across here now.
It'll be interesting to see where this top mark is up here, Jimmy, as well.
Straight ahead.
Okay, so it is.
So a good crew can find it.
Yeah. I had to spot it for Paulie many times. No. Just out off North Head above Flagstaff, so probably a bit longer than Saturday's invitation race.
Yeah, 1.1 mile beat instead of a 1 mile beat, so just that.
A bit further in the left than it was in that first race, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
So there we've got, I believe, our leader on the race course at the moment, the Noakes. Jimmy, one of Jimmy's picks for today, I believe, wasn't it? The Noakes getting back into form.
I'll be much happier on that boat today, I imagine. There's going to be a few angry boys out there yesterday with their results.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson last night. I went and got 2 beers and then I went over and seen Mackie so he couldn't crush my hand.
I think he would have made me put him down. He loves crushing my hands.
I know he does. Like, I'm going to Manly, I might crush a few of the boys' hands.
Yeah.
And girls, Jimmy. Don't let him off with that.
Don't you get the kiss?
No, Mackie's a man for a handshake. Got the world's biggest hands.
So as we have a look at these shots of the boys on the water, we are seeing them full stretch out, however possibly not as low as they can be on the wires, so they're not at their max weights, but there is still a little bit of ease on the main to try and build that speed and squeeze some height into the boat. The Noakes have done a really good job here. They've actually built themselves a solid little lead, and there's a bit of a battle happening behind them, so we might see them extend out a little bit further on the way up to this top mark as they get to choose their own course.
And again, just in the back of that shot, just before Botany Access is having Chris Thomas is having a good first work. Yeah,
I mean, Ryan and Chris have been sailing for a while together. Another sibling boat thrown in with Jared in the front there. He'll be happy having a good day today, I'd say, Chris. Be all smiles on that boat for a little while.
For a little while. We'll see how they go.
See what happens at the top mark.
Well, we've seen their shore boss up in his crow's nest there, Mano.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on proceedings. But as you can see there, Noakes, Dave O'Connor just extending there with below him NHS, and is that Skelcon just below them, or is SKE Electrical, or both of them actually, and IME. So
and Tribeca's up there as well today.
Yeah.
Benny Bradley on the helm.
So as we've gotten out towards this top mark, there is still a little bit of seaside out here too, isn't there, Alana? We're bouncing around a tiny bit in the Cabra Cat, but it's nothing like it was a couple of days ago.
This is mundane, mate. We could be serving champagne and cheese platters here if you want.
We might
go get. Still a bit bumpy for those Belmont guys.
We might go get some of Jack's prawns later, eh, Jimmy? Yeah. Compared to definitely on the Sunday, where I almost fell off my seat a couple of times through some of those rollers. But there still is enough of a sea state here downwind that that working really hard on the chute. And those boats that we've seen have a bit of a speed advantage downwind in this stuff today. I'd expect the same thing to happen again.
Well, the one that I've noticed has been super quick, whether it's windy or light, has been Daniel Turner on the Moon and Yachts. He's got a whole different setup, groove-wise, to everyone.
So I've unfortunately sailed with him a lot in these kind of conditions, and he's told me I'm not allowed to say too much about it. But
you wouldn't remember anyway, Paulie.
Oh, mate, I just stood at the back and hung on. However, I can say a lot of it's got to do with his natural feel in these waves, as well as how hard his crew's working in front of him. You see a lot of bending. You see Matty ripping the chute harder than anyone else in the whole fleet, I believe. He almost pulls it above his head. It's also a few little subtle things that Gus does in the back corner with his bending, so you can get a little bit deeper and doing certain things, and also choosing the right time to swing as hard as you can to drive up over the next wave. So here we got the Noakes. Noakes on final approach to the top mark, I believe.
Yep, red pumps red.
With red
right
pumps
behind them, and then NHS. NHS is really thin on this lay, but let's see what happens.
So, as we sort of alluded to here, the red pumps, the Noakes have built themselves quite a solid lead in one work here. With next in line will be the red pumps red, return to form for both boats today. And then a big gaggle of boats in behind them that we just can't quite figure out who's going round, but Jimmy's put us in a great position to see how everybody rounds this mark. So Noakes around first, with still a good 10 seconds until the red pumps gets in here.
Third, NHS in third.
Yep.
Quite close with the red pumps there. Looks like Tribeca's in fourth.
Tribeca and Iamy, I think, will be having a good little battle to see who can get round. If Iamy can live there, oh no, Tribeca's going to easily romp it in. So Keegan back up the front end of the fleet.
Junior be lucky to get back on that way.
Well, he did a good job commentating, so I think he's got a position here if he wants that. And then the Iamy round next with the Botany. And it's quite interesting as we have a look at these first 6 boats around. None of these boats yesterday finished in the top 6 in either race. So it's just showing how close this racing actually is. Here comes the Moonin with the SKE. Harry Price there doing a quick roll on 2 of his really good mates, Gus and Matty. I'm sure they're going to hear about this one, especially since it's on camera.
Cunningham seems to be going all right with that new rig. I think Baz has done a pretty good job working yesterday to get them back on the water.
So everybody seems to be heading out on the starboard into the point, which is only not much runway down here. However, the Moonin, first boat to bail out, followed by the Dominoes. So these 2 boats searching for a little bit of clear air early. Now we've got a good battle here between 3 boats. Red pumps.
Typhoon's a long way back compared to yesterday. We've just gone around the mark now.
Well, it's also back in that leading bunch from yesterday. The sail racing's still got a good 50 metres to get into that mark as well. So, as this regatta changes by the minute pretty much, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Might be a bit of snakes and ladders all week at this rate.
I think so. As we sort of alluded to, we're expecting a couple of nor'easters in the later end of the week. And we will be. And I think it's going to be about getting some good keeping results there, and they're really throwing your weight behind everything. When you hit these big, when we hit a couple of nice nor'easters later on in the regatta. So we're just following everybody down here on the drone shot. That's the Iamy on screen, currently sitting in about 5th position. With the Noakes blue running, driving back onto start, not Noakes, driving back onto start and running down that far shore. Everybody seems to be taking a similar route down here, don't they, Alana?
Looks like the early drive by Ruffy on the Moon and Yachts might have paid off. He's certainly jumped up a few spots there into third, I believe.
Do you think that was a bit of a conscious decision? Because we've sort of been alluding to he has got... Judge feel he has a lot of speed downwind at the moment.
I lie. That was the NHS with the Moon and...
the moon
and Kite on.
Yeah,
It's got me twice this week.
Deceptive.
I still think I'm looking out the window at the Moon and I think he's made some big gains there myself. I think he's actually slipped into 5th position already. So Ravi really just wanted to clear out from other boats and use his speed to try and sail around some people. Now they're all running down this shore, it seems. There might be a bit of a compression in the breeze along there, a little bit more pressure. So there on screen, we've got our 2 good mates. Trent dumping one on the boys. Let's see if they can just push their bow through there and keep their air clear, or if they're going to get rolled over the top of. It looks like they've done quite well there and managed to keep their clear air.
You can also see probably a few of the 13s coming upwind now. Going to have to pick a pretty clear lane coming downwind to give those guys rights on the starboard tack. Looks like there's a few girls up the front of the fleet again, which is good to see, especially on a day like today with all the ladies on the deck.
Yeah, nice. So it's an interesting one in this too, isn't it, Alana? Because, you know, on the weekend sailing at Manly, we expect quite a lot of traffic on the harbour out here. Whereas now, you know, we're on a Tuesday, and generally there won't be too many people. We still do have 2 fleets sort of running through each other, and you've got to be mindful of each other throughout the regatta.
Yeah, well, the Manly boys and girls on the 13, like, they're used to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the poor young kids from Hornsby, Karingai, they'll be a little bit probably rattled, right?
When they start seeing those bow poles and big chutes coming down at the downwind with a bit of slop in those waves, I think it'd be a new experience for a couple of them, I think.
Here's our leader on screen, Noakes, Dave O'Connor, with Pete Mackey and Ricky Bridge.
So they've got one last jibe. For me, I'm actually not sure which way. They look like
they're set up for a short.
I think it's worth going back up that Reef Beach shore. I'd probably take the mark they're going around just to get those gains on the inside. Clear traffic all the way through too if you go up right and tack right across.
Do you think you're going to be able to dodge a couple of those spinnakers a bit further up the fleet?
It's quite a spectacle looking back up.
Yeah,
upwind.
We'll just get Rob just to pan around to the left a little bit there, and you'll just catch all these spinnakers running down from the top mark. It's quite impressive.
You see Chris Williams pulls the windward spinnaker sheet around to help that spinnaker that goes in a chute. Makes it a lot easier when they do that.
For any of those 13 guys watching this as well, that's really helpful. I know when I sail the 13, it's definitely really good to pull it around, help your forward hand out, and it goes in the bag so much easier. So
that was red pump thread around in second. Then we're going to close rounding here between Tribeca and NHS.
Call that a tie?
I'd call that a tie. I think that mark rounding looked a tiny bit neater on the NHS, and they're just going to be able to get their bow forward there and just sort of punch out on the Tribeca. However, Keegan, king of the high groove, will probably be able to live there. Next around is the Imey, closely followed by the Moonin. The Moonin's done really well there. Good gains, nice clean rounding from both of those boats. Let's see how long Ruffy can live there. You can just see him there, just reaching down the bottom, making sure the Vang and stuff's cleared, that Gus probably kicked out in the last chop.
Followed by the Botany access there with the Thomas brothers and Jared up the front, holding on.
And then the Skelcon, the Macon brothers are around next. So today we're seeing a few...
Well, Paulie, look at this.
Oh, the Musto.
SKE and Musto.
Well, Harry is known to really push the limits of where he can put a boat, isn't he, Jimmy?
Mate, I think he was okay. I think they just Musto, when they stashed the chute, didn't have any pressure in the rig, and one jumped out on wire. So I think that's what unfolded there.
So today, you know, yesterday when it was... So we've had one boat actually. Everybody's doing this left turn into Reef Beach. However, one boat, Domino's, taking a right-hand turn and heading across to the eastern shore.
Well, they've got to try something, right? Like we're seeing their form on day one.
Yeah,
you got to try something.
Well, it's just That would have been a very hard thing to deal with that first day. I don't envy those blokes.
Hard pill to swallow, that one.
Well, it would have been quite a few easy schooners to drink after it.
The 5 stopping coming around next in front of Typhoon, and
Typhoon's
going the other way with
Nazami.
Andrew Chapman.
Yep, and then here's Konami coming around. This
I actually got
Max has got a halyard problem.
Looks.
See the sail racing just coming in here too. That's a big change from their results from yesterday.
So it'd just be interesting to see how a couple of these boats work their way back through. You know, we saw the Typhoon sort of taking that other mark as well on the other side of the course.
And same with Fluid with a halyard problem over there as well. Here's Wishard and Kamikaze.
So the Fluid off and the Shebang close together on a day where, not this race, however, the next race, those two boats have got a bit involved in the sponsor of the next race.
There's Shed Real Estate, Marilyn Sorensen, and down to leeward is Georgia Clancy on Outback Marine, a bit deeper than where she'd expect to be at the moment. Alana?
Yeah, I don't know that she'd want Ant King and the Shebang just stuck above her. They definitely have a beer bets going on every race of the season this year. So, you know, always good rivalry between Ant. I've done a few years sailing on and off with him, and I think the rivalry between him and Clint is something else.
And here coming into the mark as well on the Addenda is another one of our female skippers in the fleet, Matilda Lang.
Fireball missing that bottom mark.
They look like they've got a couple of halyard might not want to be coming down on the Addenda there. Now it's coming down now. And you can just see, just when sort of those drops get held up, you just sort of jump into that low lane around this mark and you take a little bit of punishment for this first 100 metres until you can clear your air. So this is, we've got
That's just about everyone around. So
one or two more boats coming in, man flew around, and then we've got the, I believe it's the 4X, is it? Or the
Yep, the 4X will be one of the
last ones to come through. Oh. And then
Sutherly's just behind the 4X, so they haven't had the best run down there.
One of our more fancied boats, Sutherly coming in from a long distance away without a spinnaker.
What do you reckon Polar gets these tonight? And Steve Cotton, the bowman on board there. He had yesterday off.
They don't have the excuse. He's possibly got tomorrow off, Jimmy, so he's got a day to rest up again.
Well, I've been informed that if we do get both races away today, that the lay day will be enforced and we'll be having 2 races on Thursday.
Two races Thursday?
Yep.
Which is good, which is exciting. I think everybody enjoys having their day off, don't they, Alana?
I think you'll find tonight will be a rather large night in the bar at the Skiff Club if they do confirm that lay day tomorrow.
Do we think it's a bit of an interesting decision that they've made, having the ladies' day on the day before the lay day, so they can get well done?
And he's our leader in the 13s, Plonk from Middle Harbour.
They're looking nice and comfortable coming down the centre there. That's lovely.
Cybertech in second.
These two look like they've built a good gap on the rest of the fleet here too, Jimmy.
And I might have put the kiss of death on the Ebix. I've seen them moving a powerboat and wished them both the best of luck.
So, as you can see, we're watching these. So you can see here, we just get to watch these 13s go through a jibe.
Yep, well, Theo and Kobe there on screen.
That's Rob Napper's young boy, is that?
Yeah, mate, he is seriously like 6 foot.
He's got a bit of height on me, and I'm 6'2", isn't he?
Rob's definitely not the father, that's for sure. Sorry, Ollie.
And then you sit here and we can see the Ebix, as we were sort of saying, one of the more fancy notes, they're sort of coming down. You can see the Ebix boat here, they're swinging hard.
We've got a big Manly ferry leaving Manly Wharf on the return back to Circular Quay, which is going to plough straight through the fleet, but generally the ferry drivers have been pretty good for us.
Jill and our drone man doing a great job getting us right in behind the Ebix here.
Yeah, they are.
You can see Gemma sitting there just sort of letting a crew swing as hard as he can, and working the chute very well up and down those waves. And then you can see there having a bit of a close call with the 16 on port, but did well to navigate that situation. And then we see them roll through. That's an extremely nice jibe from those two in a 13. I myself find the 13 is actually a little bit more difficult to jibe than the 16 because you've only got one crew member trying to do all the way and get that chute through themselves. Just because they're that little bit finer too, they're a little bit more tippy through that jibe when the rig unloads about halfway through. So if you don't get your way through at the right time, you can get yourself in a little bit of trouble.
You also find, Paul, if you use too much tiller through the jibe, that the boat really slides out. The forehand coming in almost drives the boat for you.
Yeah.
Which is very different to the 16, as you would know. It's a bit more like a bus on the 16.
No, the 18's a bit like a bus. No, I'm joking.
Well, you were sort of top of the tree in the 13s for a long time with Sky.
Yeah, Sky and I sailed together for many years. And then I transitioned to sail with Georgia, but both the times being a forward hand. So we were all right in the light, but in that top end racing was much more our thing.
So this is the Outback Marine on screen now. Georgia steering. This is Alana's sister, Georgia, younger sister. She's doing a great job. This is her first year back full time, isn't it, Alana?
Yeah, first year back full time racing. So she's been in London she's been back for a couple of years, but had nearly 5 years in London. So
earning her millions.
Oh, if only. You can see the big ferry coming through the fleet there, and they have right of way, so that might split the fleet a little, picking a side of the harbour.
Down where we're a bit more compressed down in the Manly Bay, does the ferry coming through the fleet have a bit more of an impact on you than as opposed to when you're out in the middle of the sound?
I think depending on which side you get on, you've also got a bit of wash coming off the back, and you lose steerage if you're too far in the wash. So
yeah, but I mean you just can't dodge it as much down the bottom there, can you? You almost get pushed into it a little bit more.
Locked to one side, but I think growing up in Manly, it's sort of something, when you go through the fleet, that's what you're looking for the whole time. But some of these other guys from the other clubs sort of probably don't have the boat traffic that we have down this end of the harbour.
So we've just been working our way back up through the fleet here, haven't we, Jimmy? We're sort of sitting on that battle for about 10th in front of us there, with a couple of the guys on board.
Yeah, well, the other thing too, with the Manly Ferry, it does about the same boat speed as a 16-foot skiff. So if you're the wrong side of it, you're trapped to the wrong side of it.
It's a bit. The 18s can almost run away from the tiny bit, can't they?
Oh, they try, but they're
definitely down with the 18 can.
Oh yeah.
So now we're just heading up to the top mark on the drone shot here. We got the battle for the upper position, the front of the fleet. Jimmy's just getting the camera cat engaged to get us right up near this top mark again. But we'll just have a look at the approaches and see how these guys have gone up here and see who's got a little bit of speed and who can extend away. So on screen,
Rebecca just taking the stern of NHS.
So they've done well to keep up there with these guys, I reckon. They've got a few of these more fancy boats in front of them. Tribeca's holding their own there.
Keegan's no slouch as a sheet hand, and this is his first week in a 16-foot skiff in a long time. So
the one thing I did notice about Keegan, so he is looking a lot fitter than he has previously.
Yeah, apparently he works out or something. I don't. He was trying to explain it to me. I just said, don't talk bullshit.
Not the same gym as you two, that's for sure.
So here we got the red pumps red on screen.
And Noakes are just going around the top mark as we speak.
So I'd say that they've actually extended away there a little bit, haven't they, Jimmy?
Yeah. But they put the top mark in a nice washing machine, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've definitely put some time on the red pumps. I believe the red pumps are still in second there.
I think we're just, as we pan back to this mark, you can see there's still a 30-second sailing-ish for the red pumps to get into this mark. And
it's going to be tight for second, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, we're just seeing the Tribeca there just tack underneath them, underneath the Imey. They're both on quite a tight lay there, whereas the Red Pumps has been quite generous with their lay.
Red Pumps Red, Tyler Dransfield.
Red Pumps Red. He'll be happy to be back in front of his siblings, I think, today. So he's just reaching in. It's a solid 100-metre lead for the Noakes there.
Third around, Imey.
It's good.
And Tribeca. Then NHS is running order.
The NHS yesterday had a bit of a mishap in the first race, I believe.
In the heat 2, they at the start line they ran up the back of someone and snapped their spinnaker pole. So every race from here on out for them is a keeper.
Yeah, they managed to make it out for the second race.
Yeah, they did. They did make it out for race 3, which was fabulous to see. I don't know whose trailer they went and raided, but well done.
I would have gone straight to Mackey's. I guarantee you he's gone.
Yeah, but he takes his keys out with him. Here's Skelcon coming around with SKE Electrical.
There's a gap between those guys, that front pack here.
So the real person that sort of slipped back from this front group up that work is the Moonin.
Moonin Yachts, Daniel Turner, yep.
They were hot on the heels of the Imey around that bottom mark in 6th position. They've just missed out on what happened down there, but the boys will be working hard down here, I think, to get themselves back up there.
Yeah, so for the viewers, because of the geographical location of where the course is, we're sort of locked at one end or the other until we get a gap. Sort of after lap 2, they start having a bit of a gap that we can get through things.
So on screen there, we just saw the Moonin do a great set and roll over the SKE Electrical. We alluded to it before, but Gus and Matt Stenner on the Moonin are very, very good friends with Harry Price, who's steering the SKE today. So I think that may have been the little confidence boost the boys definitely needed after slipping back a little bit there. Just seeing the SKE there roll into a nice jibe. Clint got a little bit hung up, but still managed to hold the majority of their pace through that one. And as we see here, the Moonin's just extending further into the shore. Just behind the Moonin, having another good day today is the Botany Access. Nice jibe there from the Moonin boys on screen. And let's see how the Botany boys go through their one here. We'll be setting up in about 3, I believe. There we go.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Left some. I think they left some room for improvement there, Alana.
Their age might be showing there, Jimmy. I reckon it's rise a little bit slow across the boat there in the jibe.
I'll let you boys go and tell Jared how to jibe later. Sorry, Alana.
Got the Moonin there on screen.
So this is a lovely shot from the boys. This is the boat that we've been saying is extremely quick downhill, and it's great to we've got them on screen, and this top-down view you can really see the work that goes into walking up and down that gunnel by Matty Stenner, and also you'll get a good view of how much the front edge of that chute is getting. Just that tiny little flap and then the big reef from the big
for the lay at home, can you explain why they're walking up and down the gunnel? Like, it's not just they wanting to get their step count up.
Matty's doing a bit of aerobics on style, you reckon?
No, we've got a lot of people that watch that aren't very sailing orientated.
So the reason that we see them work the gunnel so much is they've got this nice little rolling swell underneath it. So what the forehand's doing there is really trying to use his weight to try and keep the boat at an optimum point of the bow down. So as the wave picks them up, you'll find that the bow lifts up, so then you've got to run and get that bow a bit further down with a nice pump of the chute. But then once you get riding on that wave, you've got to get your weight back into that back corner to pop the bow out for the trough and hopefully time it perfectly so that you can skim back up over the next one in front. You know, it's a bit of it's 3 people doing it all together, and it's an extremely hard thing to do, and it's all, you know, for those boys, it is second nature on the Moonin.
You've got to be pretty agile to get up and down there too, Pauline, and really get your timing right. If you get the timing wrong, it can go quite wrong.
So,
is it as critical in the 13s?
I think you can definitely use it to your advantage. in either class to get down that wave and really roll the boat down. Probably the 13 guys, I don't think I've seen them do it as much, but that's just a learning experience as well. Many of those guys haven't been sailing the skiff for that long.
I don't think in the 13 you see it's as critical to do as much movement up and down the gunnel because it is such a lighter boat and it does get picked up that little bit easier.
Yeah.
So it is a bit easier to run down those waves. You can get it with a big pop of a chute. Whereas you can see...
I think you've also got to have the confidence, but the 13 is definitely a smaller... You're not running as far in the smaller boat.
Yeah, so notes for the viewers at home around the bottom mark and off for their last lap.
Yeah. So they're just running the same direction, just running the same course as they did left last time. Left-hand turn at the bottom, run into Reef Beach. Somebody's put a lovely big catamaran up here for some people to watch the sailing. Structured tanker there.
Good viewing, right?
Great viewing.
Just going to use them to hide from the notes.
Nice on screen coming up.
So we've just got a drone shot there of the boats coming probably between fifth and 9th there, is it, Alana?
Guess we've got the access, so yeah, they're around 5th. Is it on?
So the red pumps is just rounded the bottom left-hand gate down the bottom there too. Trying to catch up to this Noakes boat, which is showing a real clean set of heels at the moment. I believe they've extended away even further down that run.
Looks like the red pumps have put a little bit more time back on that 3rd and 4th place there.
Yeah, they've just got themselves a nice little buffer there, don't they, Alana?
Yeah, I think they definitely dropped back in the fleet up that last work, so it could be interesting to see what happens up this last one. The run down might be decided between 2nd, 3rd and 4th by the looks of it.
And here we have another nice tight rounding. The Irony, followed closely by the Tribeca.
Then the NHS with the Moon and Yachts spinnaker with Moon and Yachts above them, just to confuse all the viewers at home.
Just once again, these downwind runs are really keeping Ruffy. The Moon and Yachts and Ruffy in these races at the moment, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
They seem to be dropping back to about 9th upwind. I don't know what it is. We might be able to try and catch it up one of these next works just to see if they're taking a different course. But then they turn the corner up the top and they literally are doing 2 to 1 on a lot of these blokes, I think. Nice clean rounding there from the boys. Get it in there, Matty. See there, Gus jumping out, Ruffy getting all the gears back on. And then the Skelcon, the Macon's coming in next.
Ooh, the SKE's had a bit of a dodgy drop there. Hopefully they can get it away and sneak around the mark with Harry there.
They've got a chute up the front of there, so I'm not sure what you can... Is it just pull harder when that happens, Alana?
I'm not sure, maybe they didn't pull it round into the bag so it didn't go in cleanly, would probably be my guess. But
okay.
You saw Chris doing it before on the red pumps, pulling it round hard, and it goes in a lot easier.
Yep. So the cutting...
It's just the little things like that, isn't it? That, you know, if you can pass that knowledge on, makes a world of difference to people.
Makes the forward hand's life much easier.
And Eric's removal coming around. They had a blinder of a day yesterday, a little bit more breeze today. They're probably
not
one of the lighter combinations.
I'd say they'd be very close to the lightest combination.
Look who's right behind them. Dominoes. Dominoes were deep. Remember, they went the other bottom mark, so they're on the charge.
And then here come my boys into the bottom mark, the Sutek boys. Good to see them in front of that fire truck again. And followed hotly by the Sail Racing. So the Sail Racing's working their way back into this.
You can see the Queensland boat and RW coming through there as well, Paulie. It's nice. So we've got, I think it's only one Queensland skiff this year. So it's always good to see some competition from up north come down.
Here's the Typhoon. Yeah, got everything to throw at it up this one for sure, right?
Yeah.
See the red pumps there. Hopefully they can get over the finish line.
The right side of the finish line.
The right one.
You're a harsh critic. Here's the Konami on screen coming around, and after them we're going to take off and try and pick our little hole up through the fleet and see
if we can get back up to that sort of battle for 2nd through to 5th or something. That'd be a good one, wouldn't it, Jimmy?
That's the plan, mate.
So the Kunami, which is just on screen there, I was looking forward to speaking to Bethany actually this morning, because she's someone from up at Belmont that I've noticed through the years. She goes to pretty much every single regatta. She really shows her face. And actually, Rafi's told me when I was having a chat to him, he goes, "You want to go have a look at their boat? They've got one of the most cocked boats in the fleet. It is so clean." For someone who loves their system so much like Rafi, for him to say that, I think it's a credit to what they've done with it. Really good to see them down here having a crack down at Manly. Good to see them.
We've had a lead change in the 13s. That's Cybertech, Theo Franklin and KB Napa are currently leading that at the moment.
That's okay. And then just to the left of the screen there, but we might not reach it, is the next boat's coming down. You definitely do notice a little bit more traffic when we're sailing on this smaller part of the harbour, don't you, Jimmy? It's just a little bit harder for you to work your way back through.
I love it, mate.
I know you do. I don't think your fuel loves it though, does it?
Oh, we're all right. We're at only 33 litres so far today, Paulie.
Just throw that little ferry in the middle of the mix here as well, just slightly to the left of screen there.
Yeah, there we go.
Just to put some more traffic in the fleet.
So yeah, the ferries down this bottom end of the course can really control your course, can't they, Alana? They can you can have the best laid plan to get up this work, however, you see a ferry start coming through and you really got to change up where you're going pretty quickly.
Might just use the ferry to our advantage to get us a bit of clear water, so there you go, it goes every which way.
See, just to the right of screen as well, the Nozomi, I think it is, and Andrew Chapman's going down here with no spinnaker up. So
Looks like the shoulders are down and heading home.
they're not looking happy.
Some early schooners, you think?
You also, that small ferry that just came through has to give way to the fleet, so it's not as much of a game changer as that big ferry coming through the fleet that you do have to avoid.
Well, in some ways, though, Alana, I often find that it actually can be sometimes more difficult with those little ones, because with the big ferry you know where it's going to go, you know what it's going to do, and it's not going to stop for you. Whereas those little ones sometimes back off and then they start to go again, and then you're sort of caught in the doldrums, and you can't put a long-term strategy in place for those little things.
Well, one of the greats of the 18s, for sure, is Phil Barnett. Cub, he's a ferry captain, and as he explains to me a lot, and I guess he's had a bit of a chat with some of the other ferry drivers when they're on the big ferries, and with the 18s, so they do slow down and duck and weave a lot better than what they had previously in life.
They're sort of taking, when the nor'easter's on too, taking the point that they all run into there first, the lighthouse. I forgot their name.
Bradley's.
They're taking that a little bit wider to give the boys the nose that they're all going to go in there.
Well, they have to go around the KFC marker or the Channel.
They're even giving them a bit more room. So here we go. We got the NHS on screen here. Below them in the distance, you can see the Moonin, as well as SKE Electrical, and just in front of them to the left is the Tribeca.
Yep, and then if we come around to our left, you got Iamy, Red Pumps Red, which I think is going to be a pretty ding-dong battle for second there. What's your...
Yeah, I think it'll be close. It'll be interesting. I suppose some of these boys have got a few more years sailing the Skiff than Tyler does, so it'll be interesting to see if he can keep it up there. He's done well so far.
I think he's a pretty cool customer, Tyler. I don't think much rattles him too much.
He's got plenty of confidence. I've worked that much out.
He's pretty cool, calm and collected on the shore, I tell you.
We had him steer the fire stopping in a Botany Bay Championship race one year. And I remember picking him up and I'm going, maybe he's too little, like he's too small, too young. But
they're all very good sailors at Dransfields. Jesse's out on the Chubs with a few of the young guys, and Zoe's out with the older blokes on the Sublee, and Tyler's got a bit of a mixed bag in there. Jackson's being a bit younger.
So really in terms of this race, just to give everybody an idea of where we are, the Noakes was extended away to a very, very good lead. And then it appears to be a really tight battle between the Red Pumps and Imey at the moment for second.
Who have split. So
Yeah, they've both
Imey
got...
out that aren't on screen, they're coming back, and I'm just waiting for Red Pumps Red just to give me a little bit of water on the other side of them to try and frame that one up for the viewers at home. But there's the distance between first and second on screen there now.
Early call here is I think the Red Pumps have done well with the split there. I think the other guys, maybe spoke a little bit too early there, sorry. But then behind them is a gaggle of about 4 or 5 boats, which are sort of pushing for that third final spot on the podium. However, there has been a bit more of a split up this one, hasn't there, where people getting a bit of gauge on each other and giving themselves a chance to pass. So, once again, incorrect from me. But
It was always like that, wasn't it?
The opposite of whatever Paul said. He was not a Tyler, cool, calm and collected on the boat either, Jimmy.
You want me to sort him out after, just let me know. But there's our new second place boat, the Imey, with Dave O'Connor steering, Trent Barnabas on sheet, and Rob Dapper up the bow.
Could be Dave Gilmore on the stick, actually.
Dave Gilmore, yeah, sorry.
Dave O'Connor's
He's
up near the top mark.
That's right. He's launched. He's gone. He's on the Noakes. So, sorry.
I think it's great to see these boats that had a bit of a tough time yesterday come back and really show a bit of form today. With double race days, if you have,
here they go for attack.
yeah,
You just seen Rob Napper for the young ones in this class, and just about every class cracks a little bit of jib before the tack, and it just makes the boat turning a lot easier.
but Rob would be one of, if not the premier forward hand throughout this fleet in terms of his experience and how he goes about doing everything. And as you saw through that tack, just the way that he moves his body and how smooth he is and his timing and everything, it's those little things that really just add up around a race course that help push you towards the front of the fleet.
Taught him everything he knows, mate. There's the difference between first and second now on screen.
That's my debate you on that one. But, especially for these blokes who've been sailing for 25 years plus, you know, they might not be as young and fit as these other guys. However, they've always got a sixth sense about what's going to happen next. So they're not reacting to situations. They know what's going to happen 5 seconds beforehand. The bloke who was sitting in commentary with us a couple of days ago was the master of that, isn't it, Jimmy? Steve had a sixth sense for knowing what was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Before it even happened, he knew when I was going to fall over. So here we got the Noakes on their final approach to the top mark, the last top mark, with a run down to the finish.
Copy that. First 6 minutes coming down. Something like that. This is a 3-lap, or is it over?
You just see them starting to set up, change gears for the run down to make the turn at the top here. Had a bit of difficulty bearing away the other day, however they've made this one look nice and easy.
Seaway's being nice for them today, especially around that mark. They look like they had no swell coming through. A couple of good ones coming through that they could run away with. Good waves coming through now.
But I think when you're also out in front like this and you're going around the mark with nobody else around you and you're not having to worry about other boats trying to roll you and stuff like that, it does make it a lot easier. I mean, it's sort of the rich get richer. We're just following. We've got a lovely drone shot here looking down into the Noakes boat.
See Bridgie working hard there on the kite. Not moving as much as what we saw on the Moonin though.
No. Here we go.
Setting
Nice.
up for a jibe.
Just getting a tiny bit caught up there. However, still quite a nice job.
You can see the Imey just coming up to the mark here on screen. They look like they've put a fair bit of time on the Red Pumps and the NHS there up that work.
Yeah, so they've established a clear second here, haven't they?
They're looking pretty comfortable around that mark.
The Red Pumps just seem to get a little bit lost up the top end of this course.
Dropping back into fourth or even fifth there.
Yeah. So
Yeah. NHS looks like comfortably crossing red pump thread here
and then
for third place.
it's going to be tight between the red pumps and Tribeca, I believe. Just. Then we're also just seeing once again, unfortunately, the Moonen just slipping back upwind. No, the one.
Okay, back there. Pick up behind me.
So back, as we look back down through the fleet, there has been a few movers coming through. The big one is, we may see them, is the Typhoon has turned it on up this work. I think they'll be pushing for the top 10 here.
They'll be in 9th or 10th, the Typhoon, for the Typhoon support team.
Which, them...
Well, how deep they were lap one, it's an incredible comeback.
It's a good comeback. I mean, as we sort of said earlier, getting consistent results in this regatta, not race wins, is actually going to do everything for you.
Moonan's jibed off in the background there, staying with red pumps, Red and Tribeca. SKE Electrical following suit. I guess Harry's going, all right, Ruffy knows something, I'm going with him.
No, he just likes to be close to Gus. But I do think there is a bit more pressure out that side of the course. They are looking pretty launched and they are getting a bit more swell assistance out there as well. They are just running a slightly lower lane there. So here we're sitting behind the Tribeca. Having a good battle with the red pumps red here for 4th position.
Bit of slight little tear in their kite in that back corner there though.
And as if you have a look up there, this early drive, Jimmy, initial thoughts looks to have paid quite well for the Moonen. Just getting themselves bow forward and into that new pressure first.
Yeah, looks...
Yeah, what change? Just come on.
And as we've alluded to, with their speed, if they can keep clear out here, I think they'll be giving these blokes a little bit of a run down here.
Well, we always said they were much faster downwind. I think they dropped back a couple again on that upwind leg. I'm sure if the boys can stand in front of Harry in this race, they'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, I think that'll be the big one.
Do you think there was beer bets put down?
I think a bit more than beer bets gets thrown around between Matty and Harry Price. So we're just sitting there, that's the red pumps. They've done a great job to get themselves back over the Tribeca there and back into 4th position. Did a nice early jibe, Simo jibe on them. They managed to sneak back through. Now we're on the NHS in 3rd. They've got a nice little gap behind them. They should just be able to lead all these boats down into the rocks, follow the Army back along the shore.
Do you think Ruffy, Daniel Turner, be wanting that spinnaker back off NHS anytime soon?
Apparently he gets it back at the end. So there we go, NHS on screen. They're still extending over towards that western shore. Let's go. They're going in for a jibe here.
Nice drive there.
That is a very smooth jibe there. That is a beautiful jibe from those boys.
Very good.
Great timing on the wave there too, wasn't it, Lana? We hardly see any drop in speed from those boys. Now back on screen, we got Dave, Mackie and Bridgie on the Noakes. So they're coming down into the bay now. May have one or two more jibes in them, however they've got enough of a lead here, they may just choose to extend out and do one and in.
You never take the foot off the accelerator, Paulie. Maybe that was one bit of info I never passed on to you.
Oh, is that why I'm called Thunder and you're Lightning?
Exactly, got it.
See the Moonen there on screen. I think they're in about 5th or 6th position around the top.
He's just working hard there. So that's the Moonen. They're coming back in, and that's the red pumps there, red, running along the shore. So it looks here, the the Noakes team probably have got possibly one more jibe in here.
Pretty cruisy run to the finish there by the looks of it. They got a handy lead on the IME.
Yeah. And as you can see, there's a little bit less pressure there compared to the red pumps on screen, who are at full stretch and working as hard as they can. So the red pumps is working hard here to try and stay in front of the Tribeca. So you can see there, that's the gap from first back to second. Showing a lovely clean set of heels here. It's a great return to form for these boys.
They needed a bit of a confidence booster after yesterday, I'd say, so they'll be pretty happy with that one today.
Yeah, good job. And so then we've got the Ivy on screen. They've probably still got 2 jibes to get themselves down to this finish line. Doing the first of theirs there. Got a nice little kick in pressure halfway through that jibe too. Very smooth jibe. As you can see there, Trent just throwing his shoulders at it to try and click those battens through. They're just going to cruise through for a nice second. Good job for them as well. They didn't have the best day yesterday, did they, Jimmy?
They had a reasonable day. I think they're sitting up there. We've got some paperwork somewhere we'll find and we'll tell you the truth.
So the NHS coming through the finish line now for third.
They were sitting in 5th overnight on 10 points.
Oh, that's so. Apologies to the boys on that boat. So NHS snuck through for a third, and then the red pumps are coming through for 4th. And now we've got a very, very tight cross coming up. That might not be as tight, but the Moonin managed to sneak back in for a 5th here. They rounded that top mark a fair bit deeper than that, and that early jibe seems to have paid good dividends.
Look out here, Paulie. Have your eyes on.
Tribeca coming through here. It's going to be close with the SKE.
Tribeca sneaking through for a 6th, SKE 7th, and then the Skelcon in 8th, I think.
And then we've got the first of our 13 footers right there, which is Cybertech Group, which is Theo Franklin and KB Napper.
Great result for the boys there. They've, as we look back, I'm trying to pick up the next 13 just for everybody at home. It's a red chute coming down near the Imagine, near the Typhoon. Following in the 13-foot skiff is the Botany Access. With the Cunninghams hot on their heels, however they may.
Great result for Cybertech, for Theo. And
congratulations. Good job. Now, we're about to see 2 boats that have moved up through the fleet.
What's that, 8th is Botany?
Not 8th or 9th, I believe.
9th. God, we've got a school teacher on here and we still can't count.
9th. Looks like Typhoon's going to come in.
And this is the Typhoon. Great
Next.
comeback from the Typhoon. They've managed to sneak through in front of the Cunninghams. Followed closely here by the Sail Racing, who have also done a great job from a deep position early. So there on screen, we've got a 13, appears to be rounding the mark. They're having to go back up and do another lap.
The red pumps red. Oh, the
red pumps, Bruce
Red
Savage.
pumps.
Bruce, Craig and Jag.
And Eric's removal and storage.
It's another consistent result from the Eric's boys, I think.
They'll be happy with it, but I'm sure after yesterday's result they'll be slightly disappointed. But
yeah.
And next is your boys, Paulie, on the Sutek.
It's good for them.
And then Domino's.
13th, 14th. I know the boys on the Sutek are pretty keen to get a top 10 this year. That's been their big goal. That's what they've been driving to do. They had a good start to that yesterday with a couple of 7ths, I believe. So, I mean, a 13th, if you're aiming for the top 10, in my mind, is a keeper still. So, especially in this fleet. So, coming down on screen there is the RW, our Queensland boat.
the E-Bigs, who I believe are currently winning the 13, just behind them as well.
No, we've had a 13 finish.
Oh, I meant winning they were first overall.
Well, they were
Aren't they?
tied. Yeah, they were tied
First?
with first.
Yeah. With Botany.
The
Yep.
girls on Botany.
Yes, on the Botany scaffold.
I think the E-Bigs had a 1-3 yesterday, so 1-2-3 is a pretty good scoreboard, I'd say.
Yep. And the girls on Botany scaffold, Sophie Hart and Bella Devala, they had a 2-2, and they were ecstatic when they got their prize money last night. So
A few lemonades for them.
Infinity Rigging coming in after RW here from St George with the Kunami hot on their tail. And another good race from the Ebix here, as Alana's already told us.
You can also see the Chubbs there. Jesse Transfield steering that one.
who's on there with him, Alana?
It's got Jimmy Doyle and James Lee, I believe.
Right.
So they're quite a young crew compared to some of the others.
James Lee that used to sail with Sarah Lee.
Sarah Lee, yeah.
Yep.
And I know Jimmy Doyle, he did something to his knee or his leg last year. He didn't manage.
Broke his ankle, I think it was, in a few spots. Got some pins and plates put in the day before the season started, I think it was. So he was out for the season, unfortunately.
Number 16 just crossing the line there in the 13s from Hornsbury Karingai Livewire. And then next is Bartley. Sorry, guys.
It's nice close racing here from these 13s, isn't it? I mean, we're not seeing a really, really big spread out across the fleet, which is nice. You know, we sort of saw that front pack of the 16s almost jump away, and we had a little bit of a gap back there. However, there's
A bit friendlier breezes for those guys today too, which probably helps them a little bit to keep upright and get their boat work together. You know, a couple of days in the boat too always helps when you haven't done too much racing over the season.
one of Jimmy's picks there, the Light and Wonder coming
Light and Wonder,
across.
wow. Not the result they were hoping for.
No. Considering before this regatta, the Belmont guys told us they're a bit more of a tricky air, light air specialist. The one time they really turned it on was the day that it was nuking top end Big Rig. So perhaps they're looking forward to later on in the week. But hopefully we get some booming nor'easters.
Just coming across the finish line is your sister.
Female skippers, I believe, today.
Go
with
George.
The Outback Marine Georgia. Big thanks to Stewie Graham for sponsoring us this season. Stewie's been in the skiffs for a long time when we started and was always very helpful when we were in the 13. So thanks to Stewie for that.
Stewie did most of his sailing with Craig Nichols, didn't he, Jimmy?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Up in the bow
He sailed with Beaky, Dave Taylor on the Global Storage for a while, and then Craig Nichols picked him up, and he was a long time hibiscus shirt wearing typhoon sailor. So
He was the forward hand that was never allowed on wire, wasn't he?
yep,
One of many.
one of many. That's the reason you wouldn't sail with Craig, right?
No, I don't like sitting in. Can't see. That's why I'm not a skipper.
So we've just got the fleet now filtering through.
Here comes a fire stopping, just giving way. Alex just
beat him across the line.
giving way to his sister, Sophie, on the Botany scaffold.
So the Botany scaffold, 2 seconds yesterday. Unfortunately, they look a bit further down the fleet today, more back in around the 10th position, I believe.
You can see the shebang coming down there as well. Fire stopping's on screen just behind them.
So whenever we see the shebang, what's the boat we look for straight away afterwards? The fluid. Have we seen them come through yet?
The fluid have crossed the line already, I believe.
Have they?
I didn't see a
Yep,
fluid
fluid
strike.
has. Yep.
Because I was having a chat.
But that's beer bets from Ant to Georgia.
Yeah.
as well.
So he's beat us in a few races this season, but hopefully she can get him back over this week.
And he's one not to let you forget it either, is he?
Oh, he definitely doesn't let you forget. But that's all right. I think that's the good part about the rivalry in the club is no matter what you come, as long as you beat your closest rivalry, there's beer bets on every week.
Race within a race, isn't it?
Definitely is.
So
You can see
Subtly. Zoe.
She's
caught a few boats back down that last lap there, but probably not the result she was looking for today.
So sorry about that. You might have heard Jimmy hit the engines.
That's the reason why.
Yeah, the Witchard may have overcooked the bottom mark by the finish line by a little bit too much. And we're about to go bow to bow with them.
Bruce has parked the baton over.
So they're just having to do a quick little tack up here, back in the jib.
That looks like Special's old Mitre 10, is it?
It does look a lot like the Special's Mitre 10.
It's Kieran Humphreys for viewers at home. There's a Tagara.
The Tagara, the St George guys.
Yep.
They probably won't be as happy with that result.
No,
as
they won't.
Yesterday's, but
Well, I was chatting with Sammy Monkhouse yesterday, and they were quite disappointed with the results yesterday. They had a reasonable day, a lot better than that result.
I think yesterday's might be keepers after today.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can bounce back in this second race today.
But there's Marilyn Sorensen.
So
She's been sailing for a number of years, Marilyn. I don't know how many, Jimmy, you'd probably have more of an understanding, but I know when I first started sailing in the 13 in probably 2005, she was steering the 16, so...
Yeah, and she'd been doing it a lot longer than I've been in the class, that's for sure.
yeah,
So,
it's a lot longer than that, I believe.
She used to build all Pete Sorensen's skiffs and so forth back in the day, and still build skiffs in the shed at home.
I can only hope to still be sailing by then, at her age, but I don't think it'll be happening looking at my injury record this year.
Also on the sheet of that boat is Steve Stenter, who's Matty Stenter's dad. Oh, not dad, sorry. Uncle. He's one of the loveliest blokes in the fleet. Great to have a beer with.
Yep.
And always gives you a big wave whenever you're out on the course.
And I remember when we had to, a time at Belmont when we were in the caravan park there, and we had to, because Matt always called him Uncle Steve.
I still call him Uncle Steve.
And we convinced him to just call him Steve when they're at sailing events and family events. He can be Uncle Steve. So
This is another one of our female skippers in the addenda.
Matilda.
I believe. Is
It is Matilda Lane coming across with Andrew Stephenson and Jessica Stephenson. Also a female in the bow of that boat, which is really good to see.
There's not many of us floating around anymore, or ever.
Female bowman.
Yeah, bow woman, Paulie.
Bow woman. And then the Brad Sense coming through.
which is no sense from Middle Harbour.
That one. The B confuses me. And MH44, our big handicap winner yesterday. So we've still got 2 or 3 more skiffs coming down the bay to finish before we start rolling into the next race.
Jess Isles probably won't be as happy with that result. She's coming down with the red kite just behind this white one.
To the
She was
left.
hoping for a top 15 finish over the regatta, but still a long way to go.
Yeah, I don't think this one will be helping too much with that. However, there's another race today. Can be a blessing and a curse. Another 2 races in a day. You can get a bit caught up in your own head, or you can really finish and always have a minute silence between the crew and really go, hey, that race is done. Let's get back out there and give it a red hot go in this second one.
Yep, and so race 5 today is in honour of Fluid Building, Clint Bowen, Ant King, Steve Bowen, and Brent Dennis. So the 4 of them obviously in the 3-handed era. So when Steve-O jumped off and went sailing with you, Paulie, Breno got the call up to go on with Ant, and yep, and I caught up with Clint earlier today to have a chat, and we'll have a look at that. Here with Clint Bowen, 3-time national champion. Races in honour of the mighty Fluid. had plenty of long battles with you over the years.
We have.
So, mate, talk us through it. How was it sailing with your brother and aunt? And
Oh, mate, great years, those ones. I mean, sailing against all the, top boats, fire stopping, and then we can't forget Lee Napton.
yeah,
But, sailing with Ant, Steve and Breno, mate, it was the best years of my life. I will say, though, that my wife thinks it wasn't. It was the worst years of her life.
and you're still obviously sailing, Clino, and sailing with Phil Harmer and Dave Burkett this year. You were saying earlier you're grade 4 or something, is it?
Stage 4. We're at stage 4. We're still sailing, but we're living through our past. Remember when we did that? Remember when we did this? But I will say that Berkey, actually, I started sailing with Berkey 30 years ago, and then he didn't want to go down the route of sailing at nationals and states, and so he's kept club sailing. And so it's really, really nice to go sailing with Dave again.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you about. And in the background of us here, we've got the 13 fluid, so you're still sponsoring and helping those boys out and passing on hopefully a lot of your wisdom.
Oh, they probably know more than I know, mate. But it's nice to support the class. I mean, the club and Manly Club. It's just a brilliant club, and you do anything really for what is your second family, Jimmy. You know that.
Yeah.
We're all in it together. So we're enemies on the water, but off the water we have a beer and enjoy each other's company.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Clint, thanks so much for your time. Good luck today.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll keep an eye out for you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Thanks, boys.
Now, we heard from the man of very few words, Clint Bowen. So we reminiscing on how it was and how it is these days for him, and he's doing this regatta with Phil Harmer and with Dave Burkett, so plenty of entertainment there.
Yeah, well, I heard that they were almost thinking about not sailing any more races because he got 2 race wins over Ant yesterday. And he goes, it's not going to get better than this. He's managed to get another one now, so he's quite happy.
Some shed rivalry in there.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot about that one from the bloke that I actually work for, Steve, the first one that the Fluid won, and about all the effort that they put in to win. And like, this is the great thing where we're sort of remembering back through the Manly champions. It's made me sort of realise how much effort went into winning each one of these. And I mean, in a couple of days' time, there might be another bloke who's on this boat who's actually get the race person. But you hear the stories from back in the day. I mean, I think the Fluid broke the Belmont dominance there that had been around for quite a period, didn't it?
Yeah, the Belmont dominance was...
It was very...
It was a time that Manly all sort of sat together and went, well, we've got to do something about this as far as trying to break it and, not taking anything away from the excellence of the Belmont sailors. They just clearly dominated through the late 90s and, we were sort of feeling pretty beat up because we were doing some stuff and just wasn't paying off for, Manly as a club. And then enter Robert Atkins, Baz, and pulled us all aside and started flogging the Jeebus out of us. And when you didn't want to do it anymore, you were dragged out to do more. But no one trained the house down harder than Clint and Steve in that year that they won their first one. It was, it was well-deserved win. I obviously had great rivalry with the Fluid for my career, and same with the Brydens or Lee Napton, whichever sponsor he had at the time. So it was, there was that era of Napo as well, like he's just an absolute freak, that kid. But, I was lucky enough to sail Flying 11s with him, and he's just a genius of a bloke to sail. But
he's a frustrating bloke to sail against, I can tell you that much.
Mate, exceptionally.
You think you put him in a box and then somehow he pops out 500 metres ahead of you and you just don't know how he's done it.
He did that to us at Drummoyne, and that was going up the channel between Drummoyne and the islands, and it was like, how the bloody hell did he get past us, and where did he get past us? Because you could nearly throw a tennis ball across from the land to the island there. But the effort that Clint has put in and the commitment that he's put into this class and the 13-foot skiff class over the years and sponsoring many a boat. Sponsored you guys, didn't he, Alana?
Yeah, sponsored Sky and I in our first few seasons in the 13. The boys, Steve and Clint, were all really helpful.
Yeah.
going through our first few seasons and just giving us little pointers on things that we're doing. And you know, when you don't think they're watching, they are.
Yep.
But yeah, the biggest thing I think for the 13 guys now is to reach out to the 16 sailors and just ask.
Well, Manly 16-foot skiff club, in saying that, Alana, they've introduced that mentoring program, which is quite good. So, you know, it's one of those things that, as you said, like, don't be afraid to go and ask. The boys and girls that are in the 16s are always willing to help out because they've all been in that situation themselves.
Well, the funny thing about those fluid boys too, they told me when they first started sailing the 16-foot skiffs back in the day, at their first national titles they went to, they got lapped twice.
Yep.
So, and it took them 15 years to work their way up to finally win that first national title. Well, not first, but and then they went on to win a couple more. But it just shows, you know, that hard work really pays off. But
they all came from the Sea Scouts.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Bozo started making a name for himself, I think, in, Clint, we all call him Bozo, in the Impala 2GB, I think it was, by memory. So
I think it was.
Yep.
So there's a photo on Steve-O's wall, I believe, of the Impala.
Impala kitchen. So, you know, it's not, you don't just hop in this class and go straight to the top. It's a long road to the top, and, you know, Clint, as you know, does a tour to Cure and so forth. Commitment is not a problem for him.
I think his priorities might have changed in the last few years to the more cycling side of things, but he's still pretty competitive in the 16 as well.
So just going through the comments here to backtrack a little bit though, the Witchard is the original Savage B.
There you go.
There you go. I sailed on that boat with Sky McFadgen, who sailed a lot with Alana back in the day.
So after Bruce sold it. Felix had.
Yeah, Felix had that for a little bit of time, didn't he?
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder what happened with Speshie's old.
It's probably sitting in his front yard knowing Spesh. So sorry, we're just hearing some updates from the race committee.
Yeah, we've got an inbound ship by the sounds of things, and
so we're just doing a little bit of a holding pattern at the moment whilst we wait for this next start. Just having a look at the lovely view back across the harbour. We've got the results from the last race just coming back up on screen there, which is good.
Unofficial.
Unofficial.
They're always unofficial because they're by us. They're by chits. There you go. So
that's official enough for me.
So, got any complaints about what he does? You can put them in an envelope and we'll open them at the end of the week.
Hopefully everyone signed on today.
So you can see a big tanker coming in through the heads, guys. So won't be too long until that passes, and I think they'll just wait for the breeze to backfill in because that thing will suck a big hole in the
big hole.
There it is on screen. So just wait, and then yeah, then we won't be too far off. Well, the orange flag's up, so we're not too far off signals. I've just noticed. So we'll wander on back down. We're just sort of hiding over here at Reef Beach, which.
So we're just sort of sitting in this corner where these blokes, where the crews were coming around the bottom mark and heading into when they took a left turn at the bottom at the moment. And as you can see, it just bends nicely around that Reef Beach point, and you do lift in, lift out when you time it all perfectly. Just having a quick battery change on Alana's headset here next to me.
How's that? You got us?
I'm back.
Jimmy, the boat driver, tech wizard extraordinaire on this thing.
Oh, give me a break, Polly. So for the viewers at home, the 16-foot skiff results are up on the website. If you want to go have a look at the updated results, and we can go from there. They're at www.manlyskiff.com.au, and then look at the results. Black is slimming, isn't it, Paulie? I should try black.
Change the shirt colour. Sail media all black.
So I always find it interesting in between these races, just the way some people approach it. You know, we had the Sutek boys on screen there, where you know that they like to sort of rip around the course. We'll have 2 on wire cruising around. It's just to the left of screen there, you've just got the Moonin just trying to conserve as much energy as they can and relax a little bit. I believe they're actually setting up their instruments for the start line as well there. But some people like to relax, some other people like to take themselves up the course sometimes a little bit and just see if they can find out a few things.
Well, it's a good time to, especially on 2 race day, you know, to go and check your settings and try different settings if they didn't work in that race. You know, like just anything, like just, you know, I always found it hard just sitting around, milling around between races. It was the hardest part was trying to get motivated to go for the next race.
I'm pretty good at sitting around.
I definitely choose the latter option, sitting.
I'm big on trying to conserve energy. So there we've got the red pumps, Bruce, Jay, Greg.
And they'll be disappointed. They'll be thoroughly disappointed at this point in the regatta.
Been putting a lot of work in the last few weeks, training. So.
Yeah, I'd say they've possibly spent the most time on the water out of any boat in the fleet.
Got a magnet to us, this Wishart Pacific.
The Wishart's just cruising past our bow again.
And just heard from Jack Andrew, the 13-foot skiff results are up and live on the same website, www.manlyskiff.com.au.
Jack's doing a great job getting all of that out very quickly for everybody at home.
As quick as he can.
As quick as he can.
There's a 5-minute gun.
He's got to get it done before his second lunch for the second race.
Yeah, our clock's wrong on screen. We'll get that sorted for the 4 minutes, thereabouts.
So I'm learning my flags here, Jimmy. I believe that's another 3-lap race coming up.
Well done, Paulie.
Thank you very much, mate.
Better late than never, Paul.
And also
Yeah,
it'll
you're
be
retired.
3 laps again now. Downwind finish. Thanks, Alana. I can always count on you for a little bit of positive encouragement, can't I?
Well, at least I can talk back to you now. I was too scared to in the Flying 11. As I'm sure your mum, if she's watching, would understand.
Yeah, But my mum will definitely be watching today, but not for me. It'll be to listen to you, Alana. I'm sure of that.
There's the 4 minutes. One job, Jack. You got to count us in.
So, as we look down this line, Alana, if you just want to look past me, do you think that this line looks a little bit longer this time? Possibly the pin a little bit lower?
It looks like the pin's a little bit lower and they've stretched it out. So
yeah.
Hopefully that might get rid of the false starts.
Well, I still think from what we saw in that last race, all of those boats were really looking to go to this right-hand shore straight away. So I'm a little bit that they may need to make the pin a little bit more attractive to try and stop everybody jamming themselves up on the boat end.
Yeah, probably would have been better a little bit higher, but we're all experts from the driver's seat, aren't we, Paul?
We're never wrong from here, are we, Jimmy?
Never. If we think we're wrong, we can go back and edit later.
3 minutes to go.
I'm just trying to think back myself.
Probably be looking at a boat end start myself, but I suppose it depends if you want clear air.
Just for everyone at home, we've got the wind gauge on here as well. The breeze has dropped off a tiny bit. We're sort of now sitting between that. We are a little bit sheltered here, but down the bottom end of this course, we're sitting between like 9 and 10 knots. Especially in terms of where I'd be thinking of going. That runway, if you started on the pin, is looking extremely short to me.
Yep.
And I don't think if you get a bit of time it wrong in there, you might be sitting in a bit of a death zone for a while and watching people sail around you. Just getting some words of encouragement from Phil Harmer as he runs behind the boat. Being lovely as always.
Man affectionately known around the world as Wendy. A lot of people don't know why, but
Don't give away too many secrets.
no, we don't.
So once again, we're starting to see everybody rack up nice and early at this boat end, with more boats coming back on port looking to establish their position.
Nice day at Fairlight Beach, isn't it?
The tide's a little low for Fairlight today. I'd probably go Downwind myself, but
Yeah.
there's too much seaweed down there. Be good viewing though from Fairlight Beach for any spectators on the shore.
It would be nice today, seeing all the shoots come back downwind from Fairlight. It'd be lovely.
Postcard picture there.
Not as good as the view they'll get on their TV though, unfortunately. So, as we can see there, Bruce in the red pumps, really trying to win that boat. I think he'll probably drift down a tiny bit from where he is.
He's got to get a run down, doesn't he? Or else he's pretty close to the line with a minute to go. The skiffs aren't really designed to sit
And he's got
for a period of time.
He's got a pretty quick boat sitting 2 or 3 below him that may cause him a bit of grief in the Noakes. The Sutek boys trying to take up that boat position with the Imey sitting just above them. So it does look like a few of these boats are actually going to get held out on the boat, and almost like they're willing to take a second row start so that they can tack off early.
Is that Moonin and the sail racing right on that boat there?
I think the
Might get held out.
the Moonin's going to really struggle here. They might have to hit the reverse.
And the red pumps red is in behind it all.
Sutek's going backwards off the line there. Not a great start by those guys.
That is. So, sail racing in the Moonin. Good start there. Typhoon done really well in the centre with the SKE Electrical Harry Price. I'd almost say that looking across this at the moment, Fluid first boat to bail out to the left. Good tactics from the boys there in my mind. With the red pumps red and NHS following them shortly afterwards. The SKE and the Noakes looking good off his start line. Once again, Bartley off the pin. Let's see if they can get that little bit of a gap to see if they can get back across this fleet this time. And the Tribeca, another good start, giving themselves another good opportunity in this race.
How much input does Georgia let you have in the start line?
Start line's usually hers to get over, but sometimes we find that a bit of a hurdle. But most of the time around the course there's a forward hand. I'm not sure how it's running with Kurt, but usually the forward hand calling the shots most of the race.
Georgia's really good. She's not the most vocal of skippers, is she? She does her job really well at the back, and she's quite good at taking guidance from her crew and making she looks after them well. She also understands they're holding the sails, and they're the ones who can really help push you in the right direction when required.
She makes good decisions, but doesn't say a lot on the boat, which is good. I think the two of us sailing together, usually we kind of know not much has to be said. I think that's part of sailing with a sibling.
So
We're kind of in tune pretty well that what we want to do is usually the same.
So just on screen here from the drone, we can see some tight crosses for the port tackers. The Army really pushing it in front of the NHS then. Very, very tight cross.
Red Pump start ducking a lot of boats there.
Well, it just seems everybody really wants to get into that corner, and they'll do anything to get across there. So, at the bottom of the screen there, the Fluid having a good race in their race. It's good to see. Let's see if they can live there above the NHS. The Cunninghams just coming across. They're doing well there. Tucking behind the Moon and at the top bottom of the screen. So the boat, if you're looking out your window, Jimmy, is that the Tribeca?
Yep.
Close.
Tribeca's leading across. Just
If we can just go slightly
got
further.
two ferries coming in, which are sort of confused everyone, which is not much else we could do there.
It looks like the boats that hit that Reef Beach shore hard are in front currently.
I think
The
SKE
notes-
Electrical out there.
Is it the SKE?
Yep.
Good job. Go, Harry.
Mernon coming back with Noakes on the cross.
So, as we say that, the Noakes has come. Looks like they're possibly going to have to duck or just cross in front of the Ivy. Actually, I think they're going to just cross.
Yeah, I think there's a comfy cross there from the Imey.
With the
Noakes over Imey.
So the Noakes is just, the SKE is just tucked underneath their bow. So they obviously think that this right-hand side's the way to go. So, and over on that far shore, with the yellow and blue wave on the sail, it's the Fluid. This is their best race to date so far. Let's see if they can keep it going.
Gone for
Pretty
the
nice to win it on the race. It's honouring him.
Yeah, it would be nice. And actually, hot on their heels, having a bit better time of it in this race is the Dominoes. So if we have a look back on screen here, I believe that's the Nozomi. Or is it it's the NHS? Apologies. With the Moon and just under their bow and the Typhoon, which is still extending out into the left-hand shore off screen. So it'd be interesting to see if anybody's learnt anything from the last race, and see if we have any people try some different things, or if it's going to be much of the same, which is sort of run along this western shore for a little bit, punch back to the left, and then almost go out to the starboard leg. NHS on screen there, these boys look really solid through the water. Swinging hard, they're at max stretch there. This is the Red Pumps 4X on screen. The
Eric's cutting through there as well.
It just seems these boats who seem to get over to your left, in my mind, look to be winning early. However, as we head out further into the heads, they just seem to be dropping down into these boats that are taking it early.
It's a bit more of a split in the fleet this time than the first week of the last race, I think.
As much as we're splitting the fleet we can down here. So there's the Cunninghams on screen. We've just
Typhoon there as well.
I mean, based on last race, Alana, you think if Typhoon gets in the top 10 round the top mark, their speed, they'll get back up to a really good position from there based on the last race.
Yeah, there's some gains to be made. I think Mal and Nate sail a pretty good race, and they know how to get their way back through the fleet pretty easily. And Zach's a handy addition to their team.
And this breeze is just dropping down into sort of that mode that we had yesterday, a little bit closer to it, isn't it? A little bit less pressure.
Yeah, and I think those guys trained a lot in those light breeze conditions for the 470, so probably really is their bread and butter compared to many other crews out there that love the stronger winds.
So on screen, SKE Electrical out in front on starboard tack, heading back towards Shore Beach or the Flagstaff area.
Looks like the Noakes up there as well, Paulie.
Yep. Noakes.
Yep, Noakes just at the top of the screen.
They should be nice and close on the cross back. The SKE's got a really nice high line there, and they actually look like they've got a few runners underneath them, just helping shoot them forward. There we go, they just dropped off one then. So it'll be interesting to see if it's a tale of 2 days. You know, we're sort of seeing the Noakes, after having a bad day yesterday, push to the front in that first race and really put on a show for everybody. And a few of the boys that did really well, that did really well yesterday, sort of a bit further back. See if we have
Bit of a change to the podium from yesterday to today.
that's
Which is good.
I mean, it's nice close racing, which is really good.
You see the Noakes there on screen with Dave O'Connor, followed by Felix in the sail racing.
The Noakes are looking really good through the water today. I think these conditions are just suiting them. They like to sail a little bit freer than some of the others.
Significantly more breeze up this top end of the course as well, which hopefully guys are changing modes.
Yeah, it's just pushing up to 14 knots here, isn't it, Alan? Here we
See the IME there on screen. Dave Gilmore.
So the Ivy, they look like they've taken a bit wider track into this Flagstaff shot. Sort of taken a bit more southern approach. It seems to have paid quite well for them.
Got the Typhoon there and the Red Pumps Red.
Red Pump's running right into this
Tyler
point
hitting
here.
that shore pretty hard there. It's quite deep all the way in, so you can, but
You can see there on the Red Pumps too, to help them through those tacks, Tyler actually drops a little bit of vang so that the main doesn't hold them up and they can get it away to where they want to. You'll see them get it back on shortly.
you can see Georgia coming through here in a second
This
on
is
the Outback Marine.
this is a better race for Georgia, isn't it?
Bit of a better race for her. Hopefully she can hang in there.
Let's do a critical analysis of attack here, and let's see if it's as good as the ones that you do.
We'll see. Trying to get their crew work together still. It's only 4th race together for these guys, so
That's a pretty handy tack, that one.
I think the hardest part for George this week will be getting Kurt right. I can't even do it, so.
So we are. This top mark seems to be a bit closer downwind this time, Jimmy. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't get any cons. I know we're on a 3, but I'm not sure on. But it does appear a lot closer, doesn't it?
Well, it seems a lot closer to this north end shoreline.
See the moon in there on screen. Nice tack by the guys there.
Nice and smooth. So, as we come up here, we're about to have our first boat around the first mark. And once again, Noakes got to the lead. Impressive sailing from these boys at the moment.
Can they make it 2 from 2 for today?
Well, they're the only boat. They've
don't
led
put the
round
curse
every
on them.
mark so far.
SKE
Good race by the
Electricals,
SKE.
right
Harry's
on
up
the
there.
hills.
It's a good result from them. You can see
That's where a spinnaker shoot tends to. Is that a spinnaker shoot in that one?
Yeah, it
I
is.
think so.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's where it tends to be a little bit a slower process. Sometimes it's a set, but in
Well,
general, not too bad.
You could see Scott on the sheet there didn't quite. He didn't grab the new spinnaker sheet and help the forward hand rip it out.
Bit of a gap to 3rd here as well with the Light
Light
Wonder.
Wonder.
These boys will be happy to be back up towards the front end of the fleet.
Here's a good
We saw
bunch of boats.
they like to send it last time, so let's see if they can.
Felix in the sail racing in 4th.
Yeah.
And it looks like the Skelkin IME pretty close in 5th, 6th.
I'm going to make an early call here that Ruffy's going to do jibe off early, rounding in the moon.
Got to pick your traffic through there as well in the drive.
Actually, good call. Because as you can just see here, you know, you can have a great set, but then somebody else rolls over somebody else, and
Typhoon in about 10th, so we'll see how they crawl through the fleet there. I think Jimmy might be right in saying that, you know, in that top section of the fleet, they can definitely get back up the pointy end pretty easily.
Tell you who's having a reasonable one, probably coming around in 15th, is Georgia.
Georgia on the Outback Marine.
You can also see there the two red pumps, they tend to stick together. Somehow they always end up in the
There's
same
a
spot.
problem on red pumps red, getting the spinnaker up. It's still struggling, but
Oh, they're a little bit high there too.
yeah.
Konami's in
Konami.
here. That might
Konami
cause some
for a
carnage for some
swim.
people.
Oh,
Gonna have to pick a lane pretty well down there.
Well, it's forced dominoes to have to jibe off. Tribeca. You don't want to have the wobble wheel there. You want to jibe off as well, boys.
down speed jibes are one of the hardest manoeuvres you can do in these things too, isn't it, Jimmy?
Absolutely.
Whole rig loads up, and from that, all that weight, when the boom goes across, it's the hardest point to keep it upright.
That was one of the first things that I passed on to some 13 kids I was helping out back in the day.
Yeah.
Was to speed your friend and keep, you know.
Was that us, Jimmy?
I think it was. I think I seen you do it once, and I was like, "There you go." They're listening.
I think that's the the 16 guys. When you think they're not listening, they definitely are. You can see there too. Fluid's not on screen, but Clint was looking famous there at the start. He's not looking so good around the top mark. He's got that beer bed on with Kingy. Kingy's beat him to the top. It's going to be a slow slog down.
So we're just sitting there with the final boats going around the top mark. As Jimmy starts taking the camera cap back down the course. And off screen and me looking forward, not surprisingly, that Noakes boat seems to have extended away from everybody again, haven't they? These images on screen that Dylan on the drone's got for us at the moment is pretty amazing though. Sydney Harbour at its finest with a whole bunch of coloured, multi-coloured spinnakers. It's great to see. So we're hitting our max G down the centre of the course now, Jimmy. What are we doing?
See there, those first two boats nearly on screen now have kind of extended that lead a little bit more downwind as we expected at the top.
Yeah.
And the SKE's done really well to hang in there in second.
Yeah. Well, I think SKE is quite a bit lower than the Noakes there. I think it's a little bit closer than we think it is, Alana.
Yeah.
So the SKE, especially when if they can get a nice little compression, if they jibe early across there, they might take a bit of time out of them as we see them jibe off now.
Some very close racing between third and about 10th there too. It could be anyone's game at the bottom mark.
There's the 13s on the way up to their start.
So the 13s, just to let everybody know at home as I look out the window, the Ebix doing very well again. Monty Scaffold doing back up the front end of the fleet in this one, with the Fluid pretty close behind them as well.
See there.
So, this is the Noakes. Dave's picked some lovely lanes down there. They're coming into the bottom mark with pressure. However, this time they're actually choosing to take this right turn, which is a little bit of a... We haven't seen this from a leading boat yet today, have we?
No.
And it looks to me that
Harry's going to take the other one.
the SKE Electrical with Harry Price steering is actually going to do the left turn. So split straight away from the two leaders.
Just watching Davey O'Connor looking over his shoulder, thinking, have I done the right thing? But so they're just tacking on the Noakes and heading back over to cover off.
Can see there in third and fourth is Sail Racing.
So Racing's
Looks like they might have slipped into third there.
Yeah, I did see that last crosser, Lana, and they just got in front of the Light and Wonder. However, it looks like these two boats are also going to split this bottom gate.
I guess we'll really see then if this right-hand side's paying off. Off Reef Beach.
Yeah. I think
those two Moon and Yacht spinnakers together again. So the one on the left is NHS, and the second one is actually Moon and Yachts. So it's a good little shot there for Moon and Yachts.
You can see Dave O'Connor there on the Noakes. I'm not sure if you can see it on screen, but just had a look back at the shore. Put one back on Harry in the SKE.
Here's the Imey going around.
On screen though, we've got the Moon and the NHS just getting slightly caught up with each other, sort of fighting each other and not getting the cleanest mark around and get either of them then. Followed around by the Typhoon and the Skelcon.
The guys in the muster are up there again.
Yep.
They've certainly been improving, stepping up through the fleet, which is good to see.
And then Nozami's rounding the other mark. So a bit of a return to form for the Nozami, who did so well on that first day in the trying conditions.
Yep. Red Pumps Red, and then Outback Marine.
George has done well to hold her position down that run.
And the other red pumps, so the rose between two thorns. Kamikaze going around the other mark with RW Retail for the people playing along at home.
It's quite a compression here with the fleet, isn't there? With these similar thing to last time, those first few boats have just managed to jump out a tiny bit, and then all these boats are just almost bouncing off each other in this kind of 15th to 25th range, which really means that there are some big gains that can be made in this little section.
We can see a bit more of a split through the fleet with that bottom gate this time. Most people picked the same mark last time, and we've got almost half this time going around either side.
Well, and quite a few of the more fancy boats have actually changed up their tactics from last time, not running into this shore and heading over to that left-hand side.
See the Botany and the Sutek have dropped a bit through the fleet from the last race.
Yeah, the Sutek once again. Nice late drop. We had
Is that a hint, Paulie, to him?
We had a bit of a discussion about this. He had the sponsor with them yesterday afternoon.
They're partly having issues on that bottom mark there by the looks of it.
They look
never going to be quick going up with a spinnaker. Who's that? CMG. On the other one, so Bartley got the same problem.
So there's the Sutek boat on screen.
And the Southerly just behind them with Zoe Dransfield, one of our other female skippers.
So Sutek here is just going to cruise in. We'll see them go for attack soon. Probably.
This catamaran's parked in the perfect position.
Surprised Baz hasn't been over there and
lovely tack from the boys.
Ushered them along a little bit.
Offered some other anchorage advice.
You can see there the fireball on screen, and I think it's Marilyn in the sheds as well going up mid.
So another kite problem at this bottom mark. There seems to be quite a few kite issues coming down in this regatta, more than I sort of seem to remember.
Like most boats these days have take-up systems in their boom.
Yeah.
Whose did I see had? I think it was the Fluid actually has it inside their mast.
I know Ruffy's got a very fancy one on his boat, on the Moonin.
Yeah, or a take-up wheel.
Yeah, and hidden all underneath that spinnaker bag, there's a couple of crazy little stainless wheels that wind it up for him, the tack line and halyard each time. Very, very secret on that Turner boats. No, I asked him about it this morning and said if I could say something about it. And Ruffy says most of the fleet know about it, but it's too much effort for themselves to try and get it going.
You see the Konami and the James Turner's boat has a very similar setup as well, which hides all the ropes on the floor, which as a forward hand and a sheet hand pulley, I'm sure you'd understand, is tucking everything away makes it a lot easier to get to the other side of the boat.
So here, Jimmy, here's your chance. What are we thinking about this? How are you liking it?
Not liking it. They definitely need a little bit more vang in that setup. That's for certain.
What about that depth along the foot of it as well?
Well, you could probably flatten that off as well. I don't think you're not searching for pressure. Not when he's working the main.
So I think, for my mind there, about an inch out on the out hole for the fire stopping boys, and another. Take a good foot of vang, rip that up to your shoulder, Alex, if you get the opportunity tomorrow. And go out and try and remember those numbers on all your settings for next time.
See the chubs there on screen with Jesse Dransfield.
And there's the leader of our 13s on screen.
Ebix.
Sorry to cut you off.
She's one of our girl skippers. Be good to get a girl to win today.
So the 13s as well, I always find it a little bit interesting when we're watching the 13s. You know, they almost get given a blueprint on how to sail this course by watching the 16s start in front of them. However, some of them tend to make up their own way to go down the course. We're sort of seeing, you know, the Bartley, who's actually coming in second here, they've gone right in over to Kilburn Towers. Whereas we saw the 16s, the majority of
Here comes a close cross between Bartley and Botany Scaffolds and the 13s.
Whereas we saw the majority of the 16s, especially at the top end of the fleet, running down this shore along Reef Beach.
We couldn't be any closer to the rocks just a minute ago. It's not actually too bad running there.
Here's the Bartley on screen. You can, as we say, these 13s, they just jump out of the water so easily. They're so light. The crew weight on them's not that big, but they've got these masthead spinnakers, and it doesn't take much to get them up and going. And in certain conditions, you can actually see them give, the top 13 guys can actually give some of these 16 more tail enders a bit of a run for their money, especially downwind.
You'll also find in the small weekdays, 13s are pretty quick pulling.
Yeah, they're almost on par for speed, aren't they?
On par for speed, and you know,
downwind.
One rig makes it an easy decision on what you're going to take out.
It was always an easy decision for us, wasn't it, Jimmy? Big. Go bigger.
Yeah, we try and drag everyone and anyone to a big rig, but we weren't always successful. And yeah, I didn't mind our little rig because we had that thing dialed in. So
yeah, it seems with most of these 16 guys when it does get to that marginal conditions, some of them have a more favoured rig. I know with their jibs on the big rig, a lot of the Belmont guys prefer their big jib, whereas down at Manly, most people prefer their seconds.
Just got the plonk.
They were doing so well in the last race.
Just having a bit of a call off.
Looks like the Eric's on screen at the bottom there.
With just in front of the PJ Leahy.
And the Chubbs, I think, just above them.
So that's probably the battle for about 20th position in this race at the moment with those guys there. Maybe even a bit further forward, possibly 15.
They're really spread out now, haven't they?
Yeah. And as we look further up the course, it does look like Noakes have managed to maintain their lead for everybody at home, whilst the sail racing is really getting into the SKE electrical and putting a bit of pressure on.
So again, we're just sort of geographically trapped, trying to get back up to the other end of things here.
I mean, it is great from a camera perspective because we've got so many blokes close to us, isn't it, Jimmy? But it just sort of limits on how quickly we can get around.
Yeah, it's
Lucky we've got the drone which can just go wherever we wanted to. It's got nobody in the way.
You can see the notes there on screen, I think, in first place.
Yep.
Coming up towards that top mark.
So there's 5 mark roundings today, all of them with Noakes in front. Maybe even more than that.
See another pretty relaxed set by the boys here.
They've extended away again, haven't they, Alana? I mean, we saw them split that bottom gate with the SKE electrical last time. I'd say there's still a good 20-second sailing for SKE electrical, 10 maybe. But the Noakes have already got their shoot set and running off downwind.
I think the big gains were from Felix in the sail racing up there.
Yep.
He looks to have stepped up quite a lot into third.
Yep, and then
Bit of a gap to 4th and 5th and beyond there.
4th, 5th, 6th, 7th looks really tight, doesn't it, Alana?
Yeah, close racing. The Typhoon looks like they've stepped up probably 2-3 places in that work too.
the podium's
expected.
almost too far of a reach from 4th back at the moment, isn't it? Like it
It looks
on
like
this short
but
course.
Anything could happen.
Exactly. So we've got this really cool thing that happens on here. We've got a thing called the commentator's curse. So you just start talking someone up and you'll sink them straight away.
So would something like that? No, I won't do it to him.
No, don't. Trust me, Paulie. The first time it ever happened to me when I was calling the 18s, I went quiet for the rest of the day, mate. I was like, couldn't do it. So next around here's Imey.
Imey.
Typhoons just had to take a step back up there.
Looks like quite a few of them have taken quite a tight lay into that mark by the looks of it to me.
Yep, NHS from Belmont next around.
So that's 5th with the Moonin in 6th. With the Typhoon and the Skelcon and Musto all coming in really tight together.
And Cunningham's having a better race this time around. They're around next.
The Light and Wonder just dropped back a little bit up that work, didn't they?
They just don't seem to have the gear range that they had on that the first day that was abandoned. So,
because you do spend a lot of time practicing that changing gears, don't you, Jimmy? Going, especially on this course as opposed to the other days, you can have some very, very different settings for the light, flat water down the bottom of this course to this sort of bumpier stuff that you get halfway out through the centre.
Not the best set by Konami there. Lost a few boats on the mark.
Not surprising that the Typhoon was the one that actually popped out the front of that group. Their crew works pretty slick on that boat. And then
see RW Retail next around, followed by Outback Marine.
So George is doing a great job. Do you think the pressure's on her with you commentating, Alana?
Nah, just needed a little while to warm up.
well, as you said, this is the 4th time in the boat for them, for the crew. Georgia has had no end of luck with crew and then replacement crew and dropping like flies, but to get Kurt in the boat is
they're two very good operators, those
very,
boys.
very good operators.
And they're also two guys that sail a whole heap of different skiffs.
Yeah.
Which in my mind makes them more adaptable to jumping on with somebody in a different boat.
See the IME here on screen with the NHS. I think they were 3rd and 4th. Was it 4th and 5th? Sorry.
4th and 5th.
It's the Typhoon and the Moon in there as well. I think the Typhoons opened up a bit of a gap on those 3 boats that went around together by the looks of that.
Yeah, they do look to have some good speed with downwind as well, don't they?
Well, the Typhoon will just be in damage control here, trying to get as much back as they can.
It's sort of that, Mal and Nathan have done so much big fleet racing around the world, and a lot of it's like regatta management for them, I believe, isn't it? Like they're always thinking what keepers are and just shipping what's a good result in this race from where we started, and if we can get her cheaper, which is
Looks like the sail racing just snuck past the SKE there
that's
into second.
good return to form for the sail racing. Definitely back in front there, aren't they? However, SKE is taking a nice position on them, possibly for the giant back here. You can see them just
get that mark split at the bottom again.
well. I think the sail racing's still got another jibe in the Milana, so the SKE might hold out and then just jam on top of them and roll over the top.
And Noakes looks like they've just extended their lead again downwind there.
Yeah, Noakes are just. It's a bit like when we were watching that first race with the Dominoes at the moment. They're just consistent, getting to where we need to go, what we can do. So here we're sitting right behind the SKE with their fill-in skipper for the day, Harry. See the boys moving themselves up and down on the wire a little bit as they hit this bit of pressure that's a bit less up here. So Racing did well before that to get a bit of a soak on them so they didn't open themselves up for a passing manoeuvre. Got a good bit of pressure, both of these boats running them into this mark. And Noakes at the bottom again, taking a right-hand turn, looking to head over to that eastern shore.
You'll notice Dave O'Connor keep looking back to see which mark that the next boat's going to take, because it's like gone into covering mode now. So you want to have as much gauge up the course as possible, so that you're in the same breeze as the person who's in the next place. So he's he's very good at that sort of management.
I think as well, when we saw that their speed upwind both times, leading around the first mark in both races, you're pretty confident with your speed. So it's just sort of, let's just keep them between us and the next mark, ourselves between them and the next mark, and really our speed will get us there.
Yeah, well, Baz belted that into us as kids that are in the lead, except for someone I know.
See fourth place here, Amy.
And the Moon making big gains again downwind. They're pushed in front of the NHS and rounding here in fifth.
Nice drop by Matt there.
Great drop punch. It's always fun going around a mark close to Rob Napper, because you sit there and G up your forward hand, you got to beat Rob, you got to beat Rob, you got to beat Rob.
Typhoon rounding in seventh. Cunningham's in eighth. Are they? Skelcon. So they had a bit of a double look.
It's a fruity manoeuvre from the Cunninghams, should say.
I don't know what he's trying to do.
I'm not 100% either. I don't think Nick knows what he's trying to do here.
Did they all review Bruce's finish and went, that's a good idea, we can all do it?
That manoeuvre there's a crew killer.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure Childesy's loving that, and that'll come out as a wine glass for the next set for sure.
See Musto split in this mark here, all the others are going around the other one.
The Bright One are doing their best to do the same thing, however they've got to shoot, which makes it a little bit easier. So we're missing the Red Pumps boats, Jimmy. How are they going in this race? Yeah.
They've dropped back a few places by the looks of it. Got Nozomi here with Andrew Chapman, and then I think the Outback Marines jumped a few places downwind.
So the Nozomi, we've just been told, had a big rip in their kite. Big hole. So we'll look for that on the next set.
See the Outback Marine there on screen, followed by the Red Pumps.
That's the big Red Pumps.
Dominoes in the blue kite.
Yep.
Nice drop by the guys there on the Outback. Dodgy rounding though.
She might have come on a little bit early there.
Hike, Georgia. There you go. You beauty.
See, both Red Pumps boats look like they've dropped a little bit back through the fleet there. Tribeca's.
It'll be a very disappointing camp at Camp Red Pumps, won't it?
Looks like the Erics has gone back through the fleet there too. They were up a little bit higher at the start of the race.
Well, I think for the Red Pumps, the amount of preparation they've put into this, it can just get a little bit disheartening in these first few days if you're not getting the results that you want. But it's all about getting yourself back together and then saying, hey, what do we want to get out of this regatta? Let's go show these guys a clean pair of heels. We might not be able to win it from here. What we can do is go and blow them away in a couple of races and really show these people that we can sail, and this is what we do.
I think that'll be important going into Thursday's racing.
Yeah, just a few people will be having a few reset switches in their brains about how they're dealing with this. Some people might choose it as a great opportunity to neck a whole heap of schooners.
That was our theory, wasn't it, Paulie?
No, I generally like to get a race win if that happened to me. But I might do it with the world's biggest hangover.
You see, I think it's a Capital Brewing there with a red kite and the Notes Development in the blue. So probably not their best drops. The Outback Marine on screen with Georgia Clancy skippering.
She could be the hardest leaning skipper in the fleet there, couldn't she?
Well, most of them don't lean very much, Paulie.
It's amazing what this camera can do to make people hike.
I'll tell you what, I reckon there's one bloke that sailed these things that the camera couldn't even make hike. The little General Lee Napton. He purposely has a tiller so short that he can't lean.
And there's nothing of him to lean. I remember when we were sailing the Flying 11s, the reason I got paired with him was because I had a huge growth spurt when I was young and was super tall, and then obviously filled out the other way.
Happens to the best of us.
And so they paired me with him, and first time I met him, I'm like, oh, this little kid, very nice of him.
The first 13 there on screen, EVIX and the Fluid.
Go the Fluid. It's the Fluid and the Botany scaffolding just to the left of them. I think will be super close as well. The Bartley's dropped back a long way from the last one, which is, I'm not sure what happened with them. But this kind of result with the EVIX and Botany scaffold is a bit more like yesterday's results. Seems both of them had a bit of a not as great a race as they've had previously in just today's first race. So we're just going to try and get back up to the top of this course, I think.
See the Musto there on screen with Hugh Stoddart.
See the final approach. So yeah, they're pretty consistent, aren't they, Jimmy? You know, they had that cracking first day, but we're seeing them in and about that top 10.
Yeah, I chatted to Hugh yesterday, and he said, he goes, I feel like we're almost learnt the boat. So
I still think they've got a bit longer.
They got a little bit of new gear on this week as well, which they've said it really made an improvement, especially on that first day when they did look very famous.
Just having to do some little donuts here to keep out of the way of the boats racing. So there are the 13s running down that shore. They've all chosen to run down there like the 16s did this time. You can see them.
Botany scaffold and Fluid building.
Yeah, quite lit up along that shore, the Fluid.
RW Retail and the Outback Marine and the 216s coming up win there as well.
So this sea state just seems to have kicked up a little bit more the Sabo too.
yeah, we're right on the end of the tide, so well, not right on the end. Got about an hour and a half to go for tide.
You see the Light Wonder there on screen, the Musto underneath, two ferries coming through the fleet again.
They seem to be hitting this top end of the fleet just as they get to the top end of this course each lap. Kind of does make it sometimes easier when you sort of time the laps with the ferry schedule. So as we have a look up here, up the racetrack at the moment, I think the Sail Racing's made some good gains into the Noakes. I still think the Noakes are quite a comfortable lead, but the Sail Racing's showing a good turn of pace here. and sort of putting themselves in a position as well to ask some questions of Noakes. They've sort of got their bow forward on starboard tack, extending into the backside of reef Flagstaff here, which we've sort of seen as this favoured side of the track, whereas SKE's heading out to sea. And then we've got the Typhoon on screen now, which is approaching. This is
there you go. Rescue boat not watching what's going on.
And then we see Mal Page just getting hooked up on the leeward side. Good save from the boys. And now they're about to run into a fishing boat with their fishing lines out. This is not a good time for the boys at the moment.
They did make some good gains up that work, which was a shame to lose that, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's... the rescue boat's trying to get out of the way as much as they can. However, trying to get between them and the rocks was possibly not the greatest decision to be made there.
Yeah, if they're not sure what they're doing, stop. The boats will go around you.
See the moon in there on screen with the Typhoon just underneath them. The Skelkin on starboard tack coming upwind as well.
So we're seeing the moon and put a nice little cover on the Typhoon. They're going to be extending back across as we go across here, and they should be in a pretty tight battle with the NHS. The IME on the far side of the track has made some really good gains into the SKE electrical. But however, at the moment, the front two Noakes maintained. Gap may have slightly decreased, but they're still a good 50 to 75 metres ahead of the sail racing. Noakes on screen now setting their chute. Windward set. Got a bit caught up in the triangle there at the top stack.
Goes.
These boys though have done this a million times, so they'll work through it pretty easily. Probably going to get quite a nice flyby of the guys here as well. SKE Electrical, looking back through the fleet, seem to have maintained their third position. However, that chasing bunch does seem to have made a few gains on them. Looking very comfortable on the Noakes there. Sail racing coming around in a really nice puff there. Got a bit bowed down. Another windward set. You'll see they didn't get their one caught up. They just tilted that rig into windward slightly, which cleared the chute from the jib. However, I spoke too early. We've caused a large wine glass. I apologise to the boys.
You see how the commentator's curse works, Paulie?
Yeah.
The best thing those boys can do is jibe.
As Jimmy says it.
No, didn't work.
Ooh.
It's a big wine glass, that one.
What's your next move, Jimmy?
Bit of halyard and jibe back.
So far, hand's worst nightmare.
I didn't mind because it was a good chance for Rob to yell at something else other than me.
Jimmy used to tie him up before in the knot. So a lovely set from the SKE Electrical there. So we've still off screen, we've still got...
This is so bad for sail racing. They've jibed back and it still hasn't come out. And SKE around with a good set. IME around with a good set, and they're off to the races, these two.
Yeah.
Sail racing to be, yeah, the moral on the boat will just be going down and down and down. And
well, I think they're going to have a good opportunity to get SKE Electrical here on starboard, actually.
There you go, it's out.
They can do a nice job on SKE Electrical here, and it could save them.
Got the IME there on screen in fourth place.
IME running into the point. Lovely jibe. See Robbie getting out there nice and quick. Trent handing him the sheet and jumping on wire as quick as he can as well.
Yeah, Robbie gets through the boat like he's got spiders on him.
What do you think we're going to do here, Jimmy? Are we going to follow down this little battle, or are we going to stay up here around the top?
I think we follow and we try and get the leaders, because it'll be the leaders for this and the 13s.
Yep. Sounds
crossing
perfect.
the finish line. Any luck?
We've still got behind us. We're just catching up. Probably rounding out the top 10. Cunningham's. The rip, the kite with a rip is the Nozomi, the blue chute. With the Light and Wonder doing a nice deep rounding there, trying to get a bit of gauge on the boys early for a pass on the jibe. So here we got the two Moonin shoots. We can see that the Moonin did a simo jibe with the NHS and managed to roll over with a little bit of pressure. So that's actually bumped them up into 5th. Further down the course, I've just seen the Irony roll straight over the top of the sail racing. That's this on screen here. With the SKE Electrical, the white chute out to the left of it. So really this is going to be about how these guys approach this shore and what they can do on their jibe and their positioning versus the other boats. Just looks a little bit like the sail racing's lacking a tiny bit of speed there, doesn't it, Alana?
Yeah, they seem to be dropping off those top 2 boats.
Yeah.
And I've just seen, apparently Ruffy has a broken backstay, according to Joe. Thanks for the message, Joe.
Okay.
See, it looks like it's just been rolled over the top of by the NHS up the course as well.
I think the NHS, Alana, is actually just sailing a higher line there. Ruffy's doing a bit of a soak boat and let him go over the top. Possibly that's the jibe that's got the broken backstay and they're having to ease their way down to the finish on that jibe.
It's going to be very close racing down to the bottom with these 3 boats here for 2nd place.
Yep. So off screen, the Noakes has blown everybody out of the water again on their final approach to the finish. Possibly a nice little jibe coming in a second just to get themselves across the line.
It's a good race by Dave and the boys again there. They really did.
Look how fast they're going with the sheet antrim in there.
So this is a great day from these 3
Got
guys on
Star
this
racing
boat.
back in front of Amy at the top there.
So just to give everybody a heads up, Noakes led round every single mark today. Won both races. It's a very impressive performance. So now we're just going to go back to this battle that's happening up the course. We've got the Star Racing on screen or extending out sort of towards the Manly area, throwing a jibe in, whereas we've got the Amy pushing along the shore with the orange chute. And coming through the centre there is the SKE Electrical, sort of jammed between the 2 of them. Slightly behind them, the 2 Moonin chutes. I'm not sure which one's which, but we have heard that Ruffy is having a little bit of difficulty on the Moonin with a broken backstay, so they may have to back everything off a little bit. Who do you like here, Alana, coming into this finish?
Oh, I think it really could be anyone's.
That's a great way to sit on the fence there,
Star
Alana.
racing looks pretty good, but Harry's coming down pretty quickly there.
We get hindsight here.
So
I'm going to take the SKE Electrical here, Alana. I think that little bit of match rate, actually, to be perfectly honest,
Star Racing just got them there with the jibe.
I think there'll be a protest flag get thrown up pretty quickly about that one.
Oh. Harry is not happy about that one, and
Is it Harry West or Harry Price?
Harry Price.
Yeah.
The Amy in 4th place there.
It was a nice close finish though. A little bit of the Amy just got to cruise in the back end of it. Now we've got our next one coming down here, which is...
looks like they've jumped up a couple of places downwind there.
They managed to get back through the Moonin. The Moonin really look like they're standing high on their wires and not pushing it too hard over there.
Domino snuck back through the fleet. Oh no, it's a skeleton, sorry.
So the NHS, good job coming through for 5th. Typhoon 6, Gelcon 7, 6th. I can't count. Alana, do this for me, please.
That's 6th. 7th is Ruffy and the Moonin.
And then the moon and
top of that rig's not looking very nice.
No, and getting that spinnaker off as quick as they have, as soon as I think they have thought the flag's there.
Limping to the end there. They did well to hang on, I think.
so it'll be disappointing for them.
Here comes a close finish back here between Cunningham's and Nozumi.
Jimmy's put us in the firing line again with anybody who overshoots this bottom mark to the finish line.
Mate, we're 6 mil thick on the side, mate. It'll take a bit to punch a hole in that.
So Cunningham's through next. Nozomi with a few rips in their spinnaker. Good job getting that around.
Lucky they got a sail maker on hand.
Yep. Light and Wonder through next.
There's a
And
big
there,
gap between the rest of the fleet there.
Musto coming in tight. And the Musto's choosing to jibe straight at us. Yeah, there is a bit of a gap here back after the Musto, isn't there, Alana? It's a good minute till the next boat coming through. Can't quite see the sign writing on it, but I've got a strange feeling it could.
Dominoes. From Belmont.
Dominoes. Good job working their way back through.
The red pumps have snuck back through the fleet here downwind.
Looks, once again, they are following each other. We've got the Dominoes coming into the finish here on screen. We've probably got another jibe in them if they want it.
Followed by the Botany Access and then the red pumps.
The Dominoes there just cruising in, definitely taking their foot off the gas. No jibe, trying to suck down below that start boat, finish boat. Now, ahead of us, we have got Bruce and Greg Windus coming in on a hot line, trying to miss the finish line again as much as possible.
I think this is Red Pumps Red, isn't it, this one?
It
No,
is.
it's red pumps.
Red Pumps Red.
Red pumps red.
Maybe it's in red boats, Jimmy. Did you ever try and miss finish lines in a red boat?
Never.
George is doing her best to miss it as well. In the Outback Marine here.
Well, that's just, you do just get that little bit of an increase in pressure as you come across into this finish line.
Great result though for George there on Outback Marine.
Yeah, that's
First girl skipper for today in
Good.
this race.
Good job, Georgia.
Got the Erics here on screen
Mover and
now.
shaker, the Eric's, yeah.
And then
And then
Infinity
the
Rigging coming in next, followed by Red Pumps with Bruce J and Greg. The Tribeca after their great race in the first one. Sort of back to sort of where we've seen them previously. They've got a couple of little rips in their chute as well, unfortunately. And now we've
So
got
did the Red Pumps. Here's a good battle.
4 boats coming in. RW Retail, Sutek up the top.
The one after 4, Paulie.
5. I couldn't see them.
Got the Chubs and the Shebang.
And the Shebang.
It's like the Shebangs won the fluid race today.
He's taking
Battle.
fluid bragging rights, you think?
The Battle of the Boat Shed.
And here he comes, his good mate Clint, 2 spots in behind him.
Got Ryan Ewings too in the notes development there. They're doing a good thing. Mackie Ryan's a pretty young skipper for the 16 as well.
And is he got his old boy on the boat with him?
He's got his dad on the
Yeah,
sheet.
Gill's on the sheet.
Yeah, an 18-foot rock star, isn't he?
Yes, indeed.
Very much so.
One of the best in the business up the bow, mate.
That's what I thought.
You can see the fire stopping coming into the line here as well.
Now, with your fire stopping boys, Alex likes to send it, doesn't he, Jimmy?
Yeah, he is a full send.
So we're just filtering through here now. We got the Addenda Matilda. Better race for her in this one. With another boat from St George, I just can't quite get
It's
there.
the
So
Tagara. With Josh Tasker on the helm.
Nice work, Alana.
And then we've got the Sudley. So a bit of a close competition with the girls today.
Well, I think when we were speaking to a few of the girls earlier today, they sort of said that Zoe might have this first girl skipper in the bag. However, George has sort of given her a bit of a touch-up today.
Yeah, it might be a
And
bit
it
more
might-
even in the races. Jess has dropped back today as well, and so, I mean Zoe had some pretty impressive results yesterday in this fleet. But Matilda's certainly taken a step up today as well.
So here we've got, having a look up, the first 13 coming down. Ebix.
Nice race again by Gemma there.
Gemma. They picked a lovely line of breeze to come into this finish line on. Just going to push them down. They're still probably going to have another jibe in them because the 13s just don't quite get the depth downwind that the 16s do. We've got Dylan getting the drone almost inside the boat for us again, which is great. They've got a 16 coming across at them that they may have to navigate, but it looks like they're just going to take a bit of a high mode and follow them in.
Jess Isles on our beer sponsor, Capital Brewing. Working hard at them. Hopefully they watch one.
The Ebix crew work is really quite nice. The jibing and stuff just seems to be a little bit of a step above, and sort of showing in the results at the moment. Great result.
Work.
Nice high five there by their crew.
So in the remaining race for the 13, the Bartley seems to have managed to get themselves back into it. We noticed just in front of the Botany scaffolding, we saw they'd actually built up quite a big gap on them. So to get back to there, they've done really well. They should try and let their retriever line go a little bit more. It's just been caught up in the cleat there. Just causing them a
fireball with a little capsize over the finish line right beside us.
So here we go, the Bartley coming in for their final jibe. That's a lovely jibe. The girls
Very well done.
The girls have done a Simo jibe with them to give themselves the best opportunity to try and sneak in front. So well done, Bartley in second. And then
Third,
coming across
Scaffold.
field, Botany just dodging the fireball as they come through the line.
So I've had confirmation from the race committee that the lay day will be enforced tomorrow, and we're back on Thursday for 2 races. So
Perfect.
he's the 13-foot skiff fluid.
The brightest spinnaker in the whole fleet.
Donnie and Liam.
They're just going to soak their way down to this blue mark, the finishing mark. Probably put the chute away and then go and pack it up. Good result for them, a 4th. And here we go, the man flew with the blue spinnaker just cruising into the finish. To the left of the screen there, we've got some of the Middle Harbour boats that are having to sail all the way back to Middle Harbour. Finish line down here is their worst nightmare, isn't it?
Yes, mate. Nor'east to be fine for them.
Oh, we'll do a windward finish on the nor'easters, aren't we?
Yeah, but at least it's a... grab a couple of beers off some support boat and just mosey on back to Middle Harbour under sheet, you'll be fine. Follow me for more tips. There's Konami with Rod Carter filling in today.
Yeah, to the left of screen,
Here comes our contender for missing the finish line.
I had a strange feeling it was Witchard again, however it's not.
No, it's Marilyn Sorensen.
It's a
Sheds.
It's not a mistake we normally see from Marilyn. She's not very consistent with what she does. That kite does look a little bit like it's done some swimming to me as well.
Sticking to that jib quite well.
There we go. Through the line for them.
Got the boys on the cybersecurity coming down. They've dropped a few places back this race.
Yeah, so after a big win in the first race, they're coming through for a 5th or a 6th, I think, Alana. Drop the main through there. It could be quite a tight finish for them.
Shear line coming through.
With the nice and close.
Typical Napa holding on and sending it all the way across the finish line and then some.
They look like they need a little bit of bang on those guys.
Well, once
Might mention it to them when you get back there.
This is a very pretty looking spinnaker.
It's a good set, isn't it? It's like the 18s. They had the on the back of the shirts for the JJs. That's how it was, and it was like, really, like, no, get one with a full hoist. He's number 40, finishing the finishing from Ku-ring-gai.
They're coming through with some good pace there.
All right, well, we might wrap it up right here. Just obviously thanks Paulie, thanks Alana. You guys are amazing. Thanks for skipping Ladies' Day to come out with us. It's very nice of you. We hope for a very speedy recovery for you. It can't be comfortable. It'll probably all come good when you're back to work.
I'd say it will. Perfect timing.
Yeah, always the perfect timing. Thanks to my amazing crew. Thanks, boys, back there. You've done a great job. I hope all the ladies back at the club are having a great Ladies' Day. We're about to go find out shortly, but thanks for tuning in. Thanks to the race committee, and we'll see you Thursday. Just keep an eye on all the social channels and so forth for times for Thursday. And I believe Thursday, Paulie, we have the head of lead joining us.
We have the great man himself,
Peter Hubble. So that's who we're looking forward to seeing. But thanks again so much for your help again, guys, and it was great having you on board.
Thanks for having us, Jimmy.
See you all Thursday.
Bye.